Hi, everyone. This is Star Wars Network. We've got your fix. And this is the Bacta tank, which means that this is the wrong thing to have up there. There you go. That's what happens when you have 5 or 6 different shows and you're a network of one. You kind of get a little bit lost sometimes. But this is here in the United States. It is the last day of August, and August is Australia month because, as you know, if you've been sticking along with the program and the network, celebration's canceled, so we can't have fun with our friends from Australia. They can't come here to visit us, so I decided to bring them to us however I could. And some of them have been friends we've known for a while, and other ones are new friends, and this happens to be one of our new friends, Chris Fresh. Chris, how are you doing?
Hello there, everyone. Hey, dude, how's things? I'm
Things
doing good.
Things are good.
Like, it's technically September 1st, but we won't call out the technicality of me being the Aussie on there on September 1st. But no, you're doing a good thing, man. Like, it's I think a lot of Star Wars fans have been a bit bummed this month that their celebration plans didn't go ahead, and perhaps there's not a lot of info or stuff sort of kicking about really at the moment. So I think stuff like you do, and you're really good at promoting fellow podcasters and getting info like that out there. I've noticed there's been a few podcasts like that. It's the community that's really actually picked up the slack and put content out there for those that sort of feel like they need a bit of a Star Wars pick-me-up. So, I appreciate what you're doing.
I mean, yeah, it's, I appreciate that you say that. All I do is I listen to way too many podcasts and, way too much time involved in podcasts. But I'm one of those people that Steele's coming on later on tonight. He hates it because I'm a ×2 person.
I don't know how you do that. You ×2 savages.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it took a while to get the English, the UK, and the Australians down. There were those I had to drop back down, but yeah, that's so. You just get used to it. It's kind of like sometimes you can deal with it, sometimes you can't. It's, I guess I equate it to reading. Some people read at certain paces versus others. Some people can listen. I've worked in restaurants my entire life, so when I used to do restaurant management or be in bars, I'd be in the office counting money, have a server talking to me, eavesdropping on the people outside the office, trying to figure out what they're trying to do and get away with. So, I think all those things just kind of come playing together.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like we're talking about communities coming together and stuff. And as much as I love giving Steele, or the Colonel, as I love to call him, a lot of crap, it's a very Aussie thing to do, to give each other a hard time. His podcasts, I think, really resonated with a lot of Star Wars fans and like linked a lot of Brits, Australians, and Americans and Canadians and stuff all together. And I don't know that it was his intention. It certainly probably wasn't his intention in the beginning, but the Steeleverse sort of spun out all these other podcasts and all these other communities, and it really helped grow to something where I'm sure you can say the same thing. I've made some really good friends, like people that I consider personal friends out of just the podcasting community, and the Star Wars podcasting community in particular. And I think in that regard, me personally, I'll always be grateful to him for that. Like, a story I'm not sure I've really told before was I can be, if you listen to my podcast, Geek Dudes, I sound very over the top and everything like that, but I can be quite introverted, particularly in person. And I always avoid events. And in Melbourne, we've got the Star Wars fan club. That's the oldest Star Wars fan club in the world. And they had an event last year where they were just going to have a lot of characters dressed up in cosplay. There was going to be a legit real size X-Wing that was on display in the center of our city. And there was a talk about a pop culture talk on George Lucas and Star Wars at a cinema there. And I turned up there and didn't know anyone, didn't know anybody there. And I'm sure you know her, Michael, Catherine Neen, who'd be well known to a lot of Star Wars fans. Catherine was there, and I went up and introduced myself to her, and she sort of took me under her wing, and I had somebody to sit next to and, somebody to talk to, and it wasn't awkward for me at all. And number one, to make me not feel awkward at a public event is an amazing thing. And I think you guys would feel that way going to a celebration. You might be traveling from out of state and not know a single person when you get there, but you can turn up and feel like you've got an army of friends.
Yeah, well, I mean, last year was my first celebration, and I'll tell you about my start into this part of the fandom in a little while, but just not to get too far off topic. But yeah. I only knew a few people, like personally. And there was only one or two of those people that I knew very well. And then everyone else was just kind of like, oh, I've met you before when, the New York people got together. So I kind of had that with me. But there was a bunch of other people from Twitter that I didn't know, but I was still kind of new to Twitter. And it was a little bit off-putting because I had these people that I felt very confident with, that I could say or talk to and do anything. And other people, it's like, yeah, I kind of I kind of know you, and I sometimes can rub people the wrong way because I don't have a very good filter. And the other thing too on Twitter, I don't put LOL after things, so people think I'm just being an asshole when they can't tell my sarcasm in there. But yeah, so I mean it's tough, and I can be a very outgoing person, but a lot of times if I don't know people, I'm kind of introverted because I want to try and get the feel. I don't want to. It's subconsciously, I don't want to put myself out there and then turn out that the person I'm talking to is an asshole and I just wasted half my night, when, whatever it is. But yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. And, like with Steele and there, here's Emily. I know being in New York City when they had the get-togethers and it would be Rogue One or Raj would fly in because Raj is always flying from California or used to fly from California to New York pre-baby, and the get-togethers would be around whenever he was here, and so meeting people that way, and I started listening to you guys because of Emily, and just kind of branched off from there, and then Emily knows of you guys, I believe, because of Steele, or that's how it may have come around. So Steele was really like the catalyst for a lot of our group or our friends that, are now friends or follow each other or listen to each other. So, I mean, that's 100% correct.
Yeah. But look, I don't want to give him too much credit. He'll give himself that credit. And for Emily to say Steele's the best, I think we just need that to tone that down to maybe second best.
Well, we'll see what she says because he's the second part of the doubleheader today. So we did we're going off with a bang, having two of the two people from the Australian podcast community that are some of the biggest names out there as far as I know.
Yeah, the yin and yang of Australian podcasting.
Yeah, that would he does loosen up quite a bit though. Whenever the few times I've heard him on your show, so that's he can have a good time from time to time. No, he's good, and as I said, his podcast is huge, and from an Australian standpoint, it's, as I said, it opened up a door that a lot of Australians were able to travel over to Celebration and feel comfortable, and that's an amazing thing to be able to do. And hopefully in 2 years' time, even more Australians will make the trip, and even more of the community will sort of all get together, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of hangovers, but it'll be a good time. And then you were saying Star Walking. I actually had last week, I had Shane Morrissey on.
Yep,
who
love
is
Shane.
One of the founders. And I made a couple new friends that way. Melissa, let's see. Oh yeah, Melissa Quinton. She's one of them. There's a couple other people that have been following along.
And look,
so
and to give them a plug, like it's the best $10 you'll spend. Like, you know, like what a bargain. You get a Star Walking newsletter and stuff. Like it's and recently they just sent out a little gift just to say thank you to everybody, and stuff like that. Like really is appreciated. I know they've made a lot of changes and they've freshened things up. So yeah, no, they're awesome.
Yeah, and if you're in the U.S., go ahead and give them a follow. It's only going to cost you probably $6. So you know you can't beat a bargain like that.
Yeah.
Now, so how did your Star Wars? And we don't have to talk about Star Wars. We can talk about whatever we want. You know, it's just
sure.
Star Wars is kind of like what brought us together. You know, that's what anybody that comes on. You know, I tell them it's not an interview. It's just kind of a chat because I talk way too much and go off on way too many tangents to you know, call it an interview. And I've had people on here. We've talked for a half hour, 45 minutes before Star Wars even comes up. You know, which is kind of the same thing that happens when we have, you know, get-togethers in this region or at Celebration. It's like Star Wars is kind of why we're there, but that's not why we're there. We're there for each other. So,
yeah.
But what brought you into Star Wars?
So Star Wars was always something I liked. Like I was born in 1979, so Return of a Jedi was an early cinema experience for me. I've got vague memories of being freaked out by Salacious Crumb and Jabba the Hutt and being such a baby about it that I convinced Dad to buy me a lightsaber as we got out of the cinemas. Great trick. And then like it sort of disappeared for me. Like I was Star Wars toys when I was little. Like I had a Snaggletooth, but I was a He-Man kid. Like to me, Star Wars toys were too small, and you know I was into He-Man, or I was into wrestling, or I was into Ghostbusters. So I was or into Mask. I didn't have enough money to be into Transformers, but so I was into all of that stuff. But for me, where my Star Wars fandom really picked up was when I went into high school. So we're talking the early 90s. One of my best friends, his brothers, Star Wars never went away from. Like they loved Star Wars and they had all the toys, and we'd just get talking and they were like, you know, how cool was this when this happened in Star Wars? And I was remembering it and I was like, you're right. I really like these movies, and I'd go to the video store and hire them and start watching them. And it would kind of become a constant that like if I had to go hire movies and watch movies, you know, on the school holidays or anything like that, it would be the Star Wars trilogy. And then what really sort of like strapped a rocket to it was when Powers of the Force 2 came out in the mid-90s. I can still remember, because it's not like today where we're seeing reveals on the internet constantly or pre-orders and stuff like this. I walked into Toys R Us and had no idea that I was about to walk down an aisle and see Star Wars toys on the shelves again. And I just looked at it and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And sure, now you can look at it in hindsight and go, those figures were way too buff. And it was ridiculous. But like at that time, I was like, what? Look at this, like they're Star Wars toys and I can buy them. And I always call Star Wars my nerd line in the sand, because I think as you're sort of transitioning from childhood to adolescence, there's a bit of pressure, or there was back in the day, of you need to give up toys, don't watch cartoons anymore, you know, get into sports. You know, hormones are going to mean that you're going to get into get into wanting to chase people around. You know, like you're sort of meant to move, and being into nerd stuff was considered uncool. And I think seeing those figures made me go, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I'm just going all in on this. And then it turned into buying the toys, getting some Star Wars t-shirts. And obviously, when they started ramping up towards the special editions, Star Wars stuff started to pick up and was around. And I like it. Just it was one of my main things. Like probably Star Wars and professional wrestling were the two big things in my life, and have continued to be. Right through. I'd go on to work, like to wrestle and then work in the wrestling industry. Didn't work in Star Wars, and which is good because I haven't had Star Wars ruined for me like I had wrestling ruined for me. But yeah, so like Star Wars has been a consistent, and I think it's never, like, from that point forward, it's never gone away.
I mean, that's very similar to me. I was born in '78, so I was born into Star Wars. Older brother, older cousins, and but being at that age, by the time I was 5 years old, they stopped making Star Wars. So the toys you were getting left over when you're 6 and 7, by then in the mid '80s, that's when Thundercats were coming out, and
Yep.
all your other Voltron and Transformers, Ninja Turtles. So like for toys and action figures, I don't think there's ever been a better time to be alive. And I would have not just light side and dark side. It would be Imperials versus Jedi versus Transformers. And it just depended on what day it was on who won. It wasn't really like there was never a set time that this group won or this faction won. It was just whoever ended up winning. I don't, and all of my toys are still at my parents' house.
Yep.
I have no idea what I have. And so, like, I know that I did at one point in time have pop-up R2, but I don't know if I still have it. If I do have it, it's not worth anything because it was probably blown up or thrown against the wall or whatever it was. So I mean, that's just where it was amazing. And then kind of like the same thing, I watched the movies and I don't like reading, so I didn't do any of the books or legends. By the time Star Wars came back out, I was out of high school and I was at the bar scene. I cared more about going out and having fun and getting wasted. I still wouldn't watch the movies, but I never got back into the collecting or anything like that. I got back into the collecting a couple years ago at New York Comic Con, walking around with Araj and Pappas, and then I came home and I hit up eBay, and it's kind of been wonderful since then.
From a certain point of view.
Yeah, my point of view, not my girlfriend's point of view. Although with the COVID thing, like I usually record in the bedroom, but since she's now home with COVID, I kind of moved to the living room. But she does let me keep these toys behind me, and they do get to stay up. I rearranged them one day and kind of swapped them out, and she yelled at me because she didn't like the color scheme I had, so I had to put them back the way they were. But I can deal with that. That's if that's the worst thing that happens is not being able to rotate them.
Yeah, I've got a full room, plus my Star Wars stuff is in the lounge room, like it's the classy toys, and everything else is out here. But have you gone down the Hot Toys path?
No.
Oh,
I'm stuck on Black Series.
Yeah,
and I tell everyone I don't collect Funko Pops. I mean, I have about 150 of them, but that's just because it's Star Wars merchandise, but I don't collect them. Because if I collected Funko Pops, I'd have tons of different ones, like, when the A-Team ones come out or Transformers or Ninja Turtles, but I don't get any of those. I just get Star Wars ones. So that's how I justify not being a Funko collector. But every once in a while, I decide I'm going to sell them all and go for the vintage line. And then they come out with something new, and it's like, oh, I'm just going to buy this next set. Or with the Black Series, they have they redid the boxes and put out all the new Rebels ones. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll get these ones, and then I'll stop because they're just doing it for the Rebels ones. No, all of the new ones are coming out like that. So, then it was, do I sell the old ones if they're going to start repurposing and, remanufacturing all the old ones? Or are they going to get all new boxes? And then, do you sell the old ones? Are those ones going to be actually worth money someday? I mean, never like the way that the vintage line is, because people are going to hold on to them, and they're not, they're $20, they're not $2. You're not blowing them up, or it doesn't matter if you lose them.
I've got so much stuff that I need to sell that I kind of have this weird fantasy of like the garage just catches on fire and I don't have to think about it, and it becomes the, oh well, like say la vie. But yeah, it's the Black Series. I've sworn that I'm out, and then occasionally there'll be something, and it's like I'm back in, and it's like, well, if I'm going to be in, I'm in. But then it's like, no, I don't want to be in. I need to be out. Like I've tried going, I'm only going to collect the Jedi, and just that is it. And now I think in my head it's like I'm only going to collect figures from the Mandalorian. But it's all a load of crap. I'll cave and something will happen. But it is. It's an interesting time as a collector because there's a lot of frustration out there in terms of distribution and ability and being able to get stuff and scalpers and everything like that. And it sort of seems for a lot of people collecting sometimes isn't fun anymore. And I think if it gets to the point that it's not fun, you've got to try and find your best way of stopping. If stuff's not available, if it's not hitting the shelves, there's an episode of Steel Wars, which was the first Force Friday before Force Awakens, and that's actually you can hear me and Steel meeting for the first time, and we're at Toys R Us, and we got in there, and there was nothing. Like there was legitimately like nothing to get. I don't know what it was like in America. But I had a shopping list of I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this. I was even going to get the Black Series TIE Fighter. And it was like my goals and my dreams and what I went in there and what I was able to walk out with were two very different things. And I don't think they've quite gotten figure distribution right in the stores since that. It's like after every movie, it's sort of not worked out. Like you can go to Maya, which is a department store in Melbourne, and seriously, I've taken a photo of it. There's about 40 vintage series Snokes sitting on the shelf, and it's like, ugh, what a mess.
Well, I can just imagine the trouble I have, and I'm in New York City, so like I walk a mile, and then after I walk that mile, I have 3 Targets in downtown Brooklyn that are within a mile walk from each other. So, I can get around that way. It's actually kind of difficult to go around collecting in New York City, even if you do have a car, because the amount of time you're going to spend trying to get through traffic and try and park or whatever. So you got to take the train. So, I mean, just to go a mile, it's like, okay, I can, walk for 30 minutes, or I can wait for the train for 20 minutes and take it for 10 minutes. So it ends up being the same. So it's just very time consuming, and it's not very convenient. It would be like if you were driving 100 miles from store to store, even though the stores are really close. But when I went out for a Triple Force Friday, and it was like, I was at Targets, and they're like, we don't have anything. Employees didn't even know that what I was talking about. They didn't even, I don't know if we have anything in back. And it's just gotten to the point that the hunt became so, I can't even say it wasn't like, it was just, not that it wasn't fun. It was just such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
That like, it's just like, you know what? I'm just going to order online, and I'm going to order the Black Series are coming in. It's coming in as 6 or 7. I'm just going to order the case. I have an extra 1 or 2 that I can either trade or give away, or, you can't sell them because they're not, worth anything till a couple years down the line. Chances are, unless they're the Funko Pops, and, they're still not distributing them right with the Funkos. So Funkos put them on sale. And I signed, I just kept hitting refresh. I signed in. I clicked the 6 that I wanted. I clicked on the credit card thing. My information came up. I hit it. My credit card or my address was in there. I hit it. Sold out. So like there could have been, I did have to say that I was human and check in. But it was just that, like, the amount of time. So in 20 seconds that they already sold out, and then, trying to find them and everything. I mean, I ended up getting them, and I got them all for cost. The only one I don't have is the Boba Fett, and I'm waiting to see what happens with that, because that's selling right now for like $200 on eBay or $150 on eBay.
Are we talking the carbonized one, or are you talking the exclusive one from last year? The Funko Pop. Sorry,
the Funko from.
Yeah.
That just came out a couple days ago.
Wow, it's going for that much already.
Yep. Because the only place you could buy it was at the Funko store. All the other ones, they sold them at the Funko store. But then Target had one, Amazon had one, GameStop had one. So everybody else had them. And they called me from GameStop. I'm not a collector, but they called me at GameStop to let me know that they had some in if I wanted them. And I went there and, they were like, what do you want? One? I said, how many do you have? They said, we got 4. I said, okay, I'll take all 4. They said, okay. And if it was other people, they try and like stop them because they don't want, I'm not putting them on eBay or whatever. I'm, once again, I don't collect them, but I'm in a Funko collectors group. So I was like, hey, who wants it? Okay, fine. So, you give it to them at cost and whatever shipping is, instead of charging them extra money. Yeah, I could have made an extra $10 or $20 on each one on eBay, but it's like that kind of defeats the purpose of, having friends that are collectors and looking out for each other. I mean, in my eyes anyways.
Yeah, I think like collectors trying to help each other out are really good. Like I've had Luke Cruiser from the Bad Motivators recently offer to help me out with some stuff that we can't get in Australia and stuff. Like most people for the most part are really cool. There's just a few money hungry people that sort of, I guess it sucks the fun out of it, but that's always gone on. Like there's always been scalpers, and short stock and stuff. Like you think of things like the Cabbage Patch dolls in the 80s or Tickle Me Elmo, which is probably the big famous one from the 90s. People were trampling each other to get this sort of stuff. So there's always been that. Like I think what we've all probably realized is when Toys R Us went down, even though I used to complain about Toys R Us all the time, it was a pretty big loss here in Australia just to have a big one-stop toy store just go. It's made it a lot harder to collect if you wanted to go into a bricks and mortar store.
Well, that's where like I was saying earlier, with the convenience of it, it's just going around trying to find it and whether or not. I mean, when the Revan Funko Pop came out, so I had a bunch of stuff Black Series ordered before COVID, and they were supposed to be delivered to GameStop during COVID, which didn't happen. So they already had my money. But the way GameStop works is the stores are separate entities from online. So I had to order them online to get them. And then they came in at GameStop in the brick and mortar. And I said, no, I don't want them anymore. So they just took my money and rolled it over to whatever I wanted. And at that time, the Revan Funko Pops, you couldn't get online. You had to get them in the store. So I was like, all right, fine. What money do I have left over? Give me 8 of them. And I could have turned around and sold them for $70, $80 that first day when they came out. But I held on to them, and people and my friend groups or collectors groups that want them, I sold them for them at cost. I still have 3 or 4 of them left, and before I put them on eBay, I'll see if any friends on Facebook or Twitter or anything want them, and I'll give them to them at cost. Whatever I paid, or I paid $12 for them, I'll sell them to 15 plus shipping, so I'll be 22, 23 bucks, or whatever it happens to be. Or if you want one, it'll be probably 75 by the time I send it to you. But but if nobody wants it, then I'm going to put them on eBay, and they're going on eBay for $50. I'll just put it on there for 40 and sell them in one day and be like, sorry, because
with that attitude, Pappas would be disgusted in you. Pappas would be disgusted in that attitude.
He would not be happy. But, well, then again, I'm turning the quick buck. Do I want to wait for weeks and weeks or months, or do I want to make that money today? So I might have a spot on there. But yeah, Pappas was on here. The other actually came on. I have another show, the Septic Tank. So this one's kind of where I talk to people and whatever, and then afterwards I just started. My production quality was horrible, and I would just cut it and just throw it up as a podcast. And I was like, well, it doesn't really make for good TV, especially like later on if I'm opening a box or whatever. So then I just doing this part, and then later on when people come on, cutting that off. But I'm going to start doing it actually make it into it more of a podcast. But that one that I do on Saturday nights is kind of a free for all. Anybody wants to come on, and I've had quite a few that I don't put up. It's recorded, it goes out live, and then I delete them off of Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is, and then they just kind of go, okay, because I had one of my friends on here showing her toys, and they were different toys.
I was going to say, but I knew where you were going with that, and I was like, I bet you're not talking action figures.
Yeah, there were different toys that I don't have, and it's like, let me tell you, the Yoda one, very disturbing. I'm still disturbed by that.
No, you can't do that to Yoda. Like,
I mean,
that's not right.
They turned Yoda into a pickle with ears. So,
well, you're the first person to lure me onto video. I with a face like this, I have strictly been an audio podcast person. So it's definitely not my comfort zone, but this is the new way. Everybody's I think doing video now and YouTube now, and sort of offering the podcast option at a later date if they sort of want to turn it into if they feel they can sort of turn it into audio form.
Well, that's like I told you. So before Solo came out, I was watching a lot of YouTube, and like a lot of the stuff, I was like, these people are fucking idiots. I don't even know why anybody's watching them. How do they have all these viewers? They're just making shit up, or they're, just like, they don't know anything about Star Wars. Just like, I was just like, I don't understand this. And I was like, I'm going to start making videos, and I'm going to do a better job than them. And people are going to watch me because, not because I'm good, just because I know more than these other people. And that was like, but the main reason is I wanted to make Star Wars friends. Like, I don't have any Star Wars friends. And I started doing it, and it was like I put out two videos, I think, and somebody hits me up on Twitter, and they're like, hey, we're getting together. Do you want to come meet us? And I was like, no idea who this person is. I've never listened to a podcast before. And I was like, okay. And I'm going there, and I tell my girlfriend, I was like, I use that like date out thing. I was like, call me like after I'm there for like a half hour or whatever, just to make sure everything's okay or whatever. Because I'm expecting, like some serial killers or, like
harvesting your kidneys.
Yeah, or walking in, it's like, a bunch of like the old sweaty sitting around or whatever. And I walk in, it's Johnny Grasso, Pappas, the guys from Cow Swift, Fernando, Emily was there, a bunch of people that I don't even remember just because I was so overwhelmed. And, it was just like, boom, I made 2 videos. I wanted to make Star Wars friends. And like, I don't think I could have done any better with the group of friends that I got introduced to. And, it just kind of, grew from there. And then I kept making videos, and they're not good. I look at them, and they're still not good. I was trying, all I can say is I was trying hard. I don't have any computer experience. I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to do any production. Took me forever to learn how to make thumbnails. Then I got burnt out. I tried to do, I did what Steele and Haas are doing with their year by calendar, except I was doing it daily. So I'd go through the book, and then every day, so I'd have every year to go through, and then every day, whatever happened on that day, and I'd make a video for it. So my idea was it was going to be really quick, but it was taking me like 4 or 5 hours a day to do it. Plus going to school, plus working. I just burnt myself out after 2 years. I was just like, fuck it. I'm done with YouTube. I'm not doing it again. And I went to Celebration last year, and I was like, this is what I want. Like, I want to be able to like talk to friends. And that's kind of how this came around. I mean, I think this is number 32, but I'd been doing it for 6 months before I started numbering them and, gave it a name. It was just kind of live chats and everything. So, I mean, it's just coming together and meeting great people. And, there's, all different walks of life, all different kind of people. The only thing that, my thing is just if you could, honestly be respectful. And, that's the only thing I really, really care about when it comes down to it. Like you and I have a lot of things in common. I've since I think I went to a psychiatrist the first time when I was 8 years old. I've been on and off of medication, in and out of the hospital, in and out of rehab, a bunch of times. I think I'm going on 5 years or 6 years sober now.
Congratulations.
Or not drinking, I should say. But thank you. But yeah, it was just one of those things that all the times that I tried it, it was just like if you don't really want to try, you're not going to do it. If you're doing it for other people, you can fake it, but unless you really want, like you come to that point, like I don't know. But yeah, so that's just it's kind of where that is.
Yeah, like with Geek Dudes, it was legitimately just an excuse for, there were 4 of us originally, and it was an excuse just for us to hang out every fortnight, and we'd just recording a podcast talking about geeky stuff was the reason that we were gathering. But it was sort of like, because we were all scattered throughout Melbourne, it was a reason to come together. And it still is, like, particularly for Mitch and I, who have really busy lives. We probably wouldn't catch up as much as we'd like, but Geek Dude sort of creates that thing. We can't in Melbourne at the moment because we're in stage 4 lockdown, and we can't leave we can't go 5 kilometers out of our house zone. So trust me, that's not very far. I think maybe 3 mile roughly. So yeah, so we're trapped at home at the moment, and we're doing it over Skype, which is not our preferred way of doing it. I sort of hate podcasting like that, but everybody does it. It's the modern way of doing it. But I think Geek Dudes kind of shocks people initially, because the way we sort of view it is there's a million podcasts talking about the latest news in geek. Like if you want to hear a really good podcast that gathers all the news talking about geeky stuff, go listen to the Sith List. It's fantastic. They do a great job. Who wants to hear Chris Fresh and Dirty Uncle Mitch and Jonesy sitting there just regurgitating the same geek news that you've heard on the Sith List? Although we were around a lot longer than the Sith List, but but there are plenty of podcasts like that. You can listen to Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin do an awesome version of a geek podcast. You don't need to listen to us. But I think sort of inserting our inappropriate humor that makes us giggle, and sort of discussing our personal lives, and drilling Jonesy about his dating life, which just came from me being bored and destructive at the start of every episode, and it's sort of becoming a theme. What I sort of found was people started getting invested in hearing about that stuff more than they were in hearing our hot take on Batman. Which is kind of funny, because sometimes we want to give our hot take on Batman. It's like people, I think, now are going, we don't want to hear about that. We want to hear about what Jonesy's gotten up to with Lady J. Shut up, you idiots. So yeah, Mitch and I just did a geek podcast where it was that, and it was like, I think a lot of people would have heard that and be very disappointed that the content was clean and only talked about what happened at DC Fandom. But yeah, and the tricky thing with that is, you can't market to that. You can't market that podcast to people. I can't say to people, listen to this podcast. It's an awesome podcast for geek news. And I don't want to say to people, come listen to this podcast if you want to hear about these people's sex life. It's, or if you want to hear Mitch break down the lyrics to "We Didn't Start the Fire." It's sort of it's more of a word of mouth thing that we rely on people going, hey, this is pretty funny, you should check it out, and like-minded people sharing it. But I've never once really cared about our listenership. Like, we have a lot of listeners, and that's great. And a credit to people like you, Michael, and like Canto by Dispatch and Steel and stuff, and Blue Harvest and those, and Rogue One, or sorry, Pop Culture Hour and the Sith List and the Bad Motivators, all those people that have sort of shared our sort of name out there. Like, we're appreciative of that, but I don't really care. Like, I just enjoy getting to hang with my friends and record and chill. You know, we're never going to get sponsorship. You know, Hasbro's never going to send us a big box of toys to promote because we're going to be influencers. You know, like we're not in it. We're not in it for that game. But I also don't think there's a market for it. You know, maybe I'm wrong. You know, like you're doing well, like you're trying to find your niche in the Star Wars community, your niche in the Star Wars market. But I don't envy you either. Like I was talking about the Canto Bight Dispatch, like it's hard to be a single topic podcast. You know, when you go, we're going to be talking Star Wars and nothing but Star Wars. And then the Mandalorian season 2 trailer just doesn't come. And there's no news floating around. And, you know, I hear a lot of people like they're going, well, you know, there's been all this casting news with Ahsoka and Sabine and, you know, Katie Sackhoff and stuff. And it's like, yep, I love Corey and Noah, and I believe them when they drop news and stuff. But we've got to remember that hasn't come from Lucasfilm. So we talk about it like it's fact, but it's not. You know, yeah. I'm sure it's true, but you know, like we haven't had that confirmation. So yeah, I don't envy anybody that has to do a particular topic podcast because it makes it really hard when there's not a lot going on. And let's face it, like we're not getting movies for a few years. So and with COVID, you know, you're hoping that there's not a delay in Mando season 3 and Kenobi and stuff like that, but it's gonna get awfully tricky. You know, we're gonna have to dig into the pockets of what we love about the original trilogy or the sequel trilogy or the prequel trilogy, because I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of new stuff really to talk about. We were in a golden age from the Disney sale up until now, but I think it's sort of we're going to get bursts of stuff and then nothing for a very long time.
Well, that's where, you know, like this has kind of evolved to, you know, when I came back and started doing it after Celebration, it was like, okay, I'm just going to, you know, I put out an invitation to 10 people. It'd be like, who wants to come on and talk? Anybody come on and talk? And it wasn't really like an invitation. It was just kind of like, hey, who wants, you know what I'm saying? It's like, It wasn't an actual invitation, like where I hit you up and said, hey, do you want to come on in this time? We can schedule it like this. It was just kind of a, you know, a shock and bless. Anybody want to come on and talk? And there'd be sometimes it'd be me by myself for 2 hours. There'd be other times where there'd be 10 people trying to get on and talk. And I was like, this isn't really working. And I was, you know, trying to do whatever was breaking news and everything like that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick one person and we're just going to talk. And, you know, it's Star Wars that brought us together, but we're not only here because of Star Wars. And, you know, when I had Blue Bantha Milk on, I had those two guys. I think we talked for like a half hour, 45 minutes before we really talked about, like, got into Star Wars. Like we talked about how we got into fandom a little bit, but, or, you know, I've had Pizza and Parsecs on. They're a couple that do it. And, you know, the same thing, we talked about pizza for a half hour before we even talked about Star Wars. So it's like, it's not like a Star Wars interview. It's a Star Wars channel because that's how we all know each other. But, you know, I do deep dives into books and go through and, you know, and I do it for my friends, or, you know, there's some people in the chat right now, like Pauline Harvey or Kat was in here, and they watch my videos where I go through the visual dictionary page by page and I read it and I talk about it and I give my opinions on, you know, a lot of times it's like, why the fuck are they telling me that her raincoat is water resistant? Who needs to know that? You know, they can't find something better to tell me.
No, I find that charming in that I just think Pablo's bored and is just seeing who's paying attention.
That could sorry, that could be it too. But yeah, you know, it's like, you know, so for me to go through the book, it takes, you know, if I do it for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, like, you know, each chapter, half chapter, it takes me 20 times of doing it. So, you know, that could be 2 or 3 months, and it's like, okay, that book's done, you know, that's done now. But it also makes me read the books because, you know, my RDS is definitely with books. I have about 200 Star Wars books, and none of them are, and probably 5 or 10 of them are novels. All the rest of them are, I mean, I have some sitting right here. The Geektionary, encyclopedia, everything you need to know. Down here, the other ones I was looking at for droids, another 6 or 7 books just on droids that I was using today. But I picked up some of my books that I've had on my list for maybe 2 or 3 years. With no celebration, I kind of dipped into that fund, and they've been on the list for so long because I don't know what they're worth, but they're selling on eBay, or the price is $500 or $700 or $900. They've just been on my list for so long, and it's like I got the Dressing the Galaxy book. It's $500. I picked it up for $100. It's like, who's going to pay $100 for a Star Wars book? Well, I did. It's a lot better than the $500. Or I picked up I paid, I think, $200 for it. The little Sith book. It's $50, but I got it with the holocron, so it was an extra $150 or whatever. But that sells
for
what that
goes for now.
Are
you talking the holocron with the book that electronically comes out?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
I better go dust that thing off. It's just sitting in my garage because I had nowhere to put it. I've got all those ones.
Yeah, I mean, that's what, let's see, what is it? Sith holocron?
Yeah, because they did a Jedi one, a Sith one, an Imperial one, a Bounty Hunter one.
Yeah, so that's not the right one. Let's see. So Sith. See, this is where it's like, this is why I need to edit, because I do this shit sometimes, where it's like, if somebody's just going to sit here and watch it,
while you're searching for something.
Yeah. But I'm so far behind. Like, I guess I'm technically a Disney shill now because I get books for free. But I'm 2 books behind on reviews for them. And I have Thrawn coming out tomorrow too. So I have 3 books I need to review, do reviews for by tomorrow. Because one was due last week, one was due the week before.
I don't know how you do it. Like, you're doing this, you listen to 8,000 podcasts, you're reading books. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. Like, I enjoy the Thrawn stuff, so I'll listen to the audio book of that because I can put my headphones in at work. But if I wasn't able to do that, I wouldn't find time for most of the stuff I listen to.
My listening has gone down quite a bit since without working. $700 on eBay right now for the one.
Wow.
500.
That's crazy. I had no idea. Sitting on a gold mine. Yeah, like it's funny with Star Wars books. I hadn't read a single Star Wars book until after I saw Revenge of the Sith, and I was bummed that there was no more Star Wars. And somebody said you should really read the Thrawn trilogy. Not the Thrawn. Yeah, is it the Thrawn trilogy? Heir to the Empire.
The original, the Legends.
Yeah. The Zahn trilogy. And I remember reading them, and I felt that they genuinely felt like Star Wars, and I was really impressed. But I never really found other books that drew me in. I know it's very controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it. I really liked the Plagueis book. But I listened to the audiobook on that. I cheated. But, out of the new books, I've found them fairly hit and miss. But so have you read every single book of the new canon, apart from the 2 that's outstanding?
Yeah. I do audiobooks, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's how I get through the audiobooks and everything like that. But it's, that's one of the good things about, I guess the blessed in New York City is if I get up and I walk the dog and, I have waterproof earbuds or whatever. And so I get up, I put in a book and I walk the dog and get something to eat and take a shower and go to work. I mean, that's 2 hours right there. That's 2 hours I can do for podcasts or 2 hours I can do for a book. because I'm not big with listening to music. I love music, and I actually since I was telling you earlier, I think before we started, I just started streaming on Live It, and that's one of the things that you need to have. I need to talk to people. They need to be able to see me. There's music in the background, even if I'm playing a video game or whatever. Like everything has to be there so much. So it's like I started using Spotify. So I'm actually listening to a lot more music, and it's like, oh, excuse me. Woo. I I started using Spotify, and I'm like, I love this song. I love this band. Oh, I miss music, and but I mean, I've never been a big, or I should say, the last 10 years since I've maybe 15 years, been really big into music. I mean, I stopped listening to music probably the mid 2000s because I just didn't like anything, and everything after that was, or everything before that was classic rock or whatever it was.
And it was WAP that brought you back into music?
Yes, it was. I was like, wait, what's this song?
Heard it all before. I was just more like, I had to make sure my daughter did not hear. It was like, not that song. I don't mind a couple of years, listen away. I don't care what you listen to, but maybe not while you're 12. But yeah, we are spoiled for content. Like there's so many good podcasts and quality stuff out there. And then when you go into YouTube stuff, like I was never big into YouTube, but being a toy collector, I love Pixel Dan and Toy Galaxy with Dan Larson. Their channels are awesome. And if you don't mind retro gaming, there's Gaming Historian as well, which is good. Like it's bad for my RDS in they inspire. It's like, you're sort of watching them and you just happen to have eBay open and you're scrolling on your phone and going, it's like, I never would have thought of that if I wasn't watching that. So it can be dangerous, but I also think it's hard in the modern age for things like cartoons and toys to sort of take off, because kids now have video games and have YouTube and stuff. They don't really have a reason to consume like we used to consume. The idea that you sit there in front of a TV or the telly, to throw in a bit of my Aussie in there, you're sitting there in front of a telly and you're watching cartoons because there was nothing else to do. And then you're getting ads which are pumping into you action figures or dolls from the cartoons that you're watching. And then you're going shopping with your parents and you're seeing them and you're consuming them. That's how toys became, a $1 billion industry in the 80s. It was ginormous. But now, like, all the kids I know of, they're not interested in what's going on TV. They'd rather watch YouTube Kids or, watch other kids opening toys, or watching other people playing games, and as you said, you've got people now watching you play games. Like it's the new way of doing things. And I think as collectors, we've got to get our heads around that the toy industry is really going to struggle because it can never be the same, because everything has changed. And like COVID's going to, that's changing the game again. Like who knows where we're going to be at in a year's time. But certainly the way the industry is, we're demanding that they make us product, but the money is selling to kids, but the kids aren't interested. So we're trapped in this bad cycle.
And it's funny though, because what you were saying with, kids would rather watch other kids open up presents. It's like they get that gratification. Oh, wow, what did they get? And then it's just nonstop. It's like their own little Christmas, the whole time, just, watching them open and open. Kind of like adults watching, trashy TV or, the Best Housewives or Great Housewives of Beverly Hills. I don't know. It is addictive. Yeah. My girlfriend watches that stuff, and I'll catch myself watching it, and I could care. I don't care about it. And all of a sudden, it's like, wait, what did they hate? Why is that happening? What's going on? But yeah, it's just.
But that's why that's why it's great when we get shows like, I really like Good Omens, people talking up The Boys. I'm like, when we're still getting shows like that, because I used to begrudge reality TV because I felt it was a cheap way of people getting out of making real creative content. But you can't say that now. Dude, last year we sat there and we watched a bounty hunter in Mandalorian armor fight off a heap of Transdoshans while an Ugnaught, Nick Nolte, was watching on, and he went in there and uncovered a baby Yoda. That it's easy to complain, but sometimes you need to remember just how spoilt we are. Like, that was an all-time great Star Wars moment. We got the yin and yang. I've mentioned yin and yang twice. We got the yin and yang of Star Wars, to me, in the worst moment of Rey Palpatine. That's my opinion. And the best moment of the child. And what that shows is it doesn't really matter if not everything is for you. So I can go, The Rise of Skywalker didn't hit for me, and I love cutting a promo on it and being a dick about it. But at the end of the day, if it was great for somebody else, I'm happy about that, because I had The Mandalorian, or I had The Last Jedi, which I loved. And I get a lot of people didn't like The Last Jedi. So like this and the other Star Wars movies, which I love, have not gone away. Remarkably, they are still there. It's funny that. So I think sometimes we've also all got to just chill, because there'll be something we like. And it could be worse. You could be into DC movies. They're a disaster.
Yeah, I would. Well, they're picking up now. They're turning around. So they tell us.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I went to go see The Rise of Skywalker with Pappas and his crew, and I got out of there. He loved it. He thought it was great. He was all hyped up for it, and I was like, I really liked it, but there was just some things I didn't like. It didn't pull me out as much as you with Rey Palpatine. I know that just kind of ruined the movie for you.
The dead speak punched me right in the face. It's funny because Josh Chapman, who you had on of Star Wars Spelt Out, he grabbed our reactions afterwards, and I'm woozy. I was very unsure of what I just saw, and it's hard when you go to it, because we get a big midnight screening, which Star Walking throw in. Shane Morrissey was actually very dapper. He was very well dressed at that. And like there's a big screening. You're caught up in the moment. It's exciting. It was my second screening where I was like, well, this isn't for me. I kept going, what? Like, huh? Like, what? And I'm not saying there wasn't cool moments in the movie, but for me personally, it took away, I felt for me, it took away what they had built up in favor of bringing back a big bad from the past. Like, I was all team Kylo as the Skywalker has finally done what no others, like what Darth Vader couldn't do. Kylo actually does it, and he's the big bad of the movie. And I kind of felt that they pushed out a little bit and didn't go for that. And then you're sort of going, Snoke. I was Snoke. I was every voice in your head, and it's like, so, okay, so Snoke was just some weird clone that means nothing, and now you're getting me started. And then, and then you have, the First Order are just a front. They're not the real fleet. The real fleet is underground in Exegol. So the First Order meant nothing. Snoke meant nothing, and Kylo meant nothing. And it was like, to me, I was like, ugh. I use a wrestling equation. In it's like a Bret Hart or like a really good wrestler that's been champion all year, but they bring back Hulk Hogan for WrestleMania. And it's like nobody wants to like I get it appeals to the mainstream, but the hardcore fans are going, no, we want Bret.
Yeah.
And like that's what it felt for me, was it kind of undid the work that they did in the first two in exchange for bringing back Palps. And I love, like, Emperor Palpatine is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. Like, don't make no bones about it. I love Ian McDiarmid. I was excited when I heard the laugh and the roll it again, all of that. But this movie made me like The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens less, and that's a bit of a bummer. But doesn't matter. I've got 6 other Star Wars movies I can go watch, and a lot of people don't agree with me on the prequels, and I quite enjoyed the prequels.
Yeah, I
sorry.
I mean, the OT. I mean, I grew up with it. I love it. The prequels, I liked them. I never had a problem with Jar Jar. It was, he was there.
I still don't.
He was there. Well, he was there for a reason. He wasn't supposed to. It wasn't supposed to be like, he's like the savior or whatever. He's there for kind of comic relief. He did whatever he did, whether it was racist or not. Who that's a whole other thing. Who knows what George was thinking about? A lot of things in there. Which at the time was fine.
I found the Neomodians more racist. Like when they started speaking, I remember in the cinema going, dude, like that nervous laugh of it's sort of like when I watch Hey Hey It's Saturday, and it's like, whoa. Like that's what I was like. It was like, well, I don't know about that accent, but I think today it definitely wouldn't fly. Yeah. It's sort of we're allowed to grow as a society and go, perhaps we should have called something else out. But with the Phantom Menace, I didn't realize it dragged a little until the 3D re-release. Like, think how long that was. And I was sitting there watching the pod race, and I know they added an extra lap, but I was sitting there going, I didn't realize this movie drags. Like, it's not so, because I always would watch it at home and it went pretty quick. I love Qui-Gon. Jar Jar doesn't bother me. I love Pelps in it. So yeah, I was never bothered by it. I love Darth Maul. But yeah, when I saw it there, it was like, okay, I can finally understand why people might go, this isn't their favorite Star Wars movie. But I don't know. I don't mind it. I'll still watch it once a year.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy. Speaking of dragging, when I was having a talk with Shane, it was last week. I said how A New Hope kind of drags, and he's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, nothing happens for the first 45 minutes." And he's like, "Well, Vader comes on." I said, "Okay, after Vader comes on and the droids go, nothing happens then." Like, I mean, there's stuff that's driving the plot, but there's no action. So like from like a standpoint of something like that, like what do you just see a guy walking around with some robots and this or that. I mean, I love the movie, but I never really noticed it until some of our friends were talking about how that didn't grow up with the movie. We're like, well, it's kind of boring, and they're right. It's from an action standpoint, it's boring. There's a lot of plot being pushed in it. Or, we find out now that everything that we learned in that movie or a lot of that we learned in that movie isn't true. But, at that time or growing up with it, it was,
I think that with the OT, the thing with our generation, Michael, is it's like a warm blanket. So, we've grown up with it. It's just there. Like, you can put it on in the background and you don't even need to look, and what's going on. Or if the sound was down, like, you just know it. Like, you could walk out of the room and come back in and feel like you've missed nothing. You've seen it so many times. So I think younger eyes, I could see how they'd look at it and go, it's a little plotting. It's not really happening. But that's why we don't listen to younger people. And we don't take those opinions on board, and we dismiss them, and we gatekeep as much as humanly possible.
That's all right. I don't know who's. Somebody's sending me a message. I don't know who they are. Hey Zach, how you doing? Not sure who you are, but okay.
Well, there you go. You've got a new friend.
Yeah, somebody that I know from when I lived in North Carolina, but I don't know who they are, so I don't remember. I was drinking a lot back then too, so I drank a lot. I drank a lot from my mid to early to mid teens. Oh, Joe, I know who it is now. Okay, yeah, I drank a lot. I drank a lot from my well, maybe before my teens even started, till a couple years ago. So, but yeah, I know who it is now. But yeah, it's I mean, that's my thing. It's like some of our friends got in with the Clone Wars. Corey got in with the Clone Wars, and Noah has only seen a couple episodes up until recently and started. Um, you know, Recently they started watching them, but it's like whatever you like, just you like Star Wars, you like Star Wars. It doesn't really matter, and you're going to talk about what talk about saving what you love, and the corny line. I mean, it is a corny line, but I mean, if you want to get into the psychology of it, and that that's another thing I like to do is get into Joseph Campbell and learning all about that, and that there's lines in there in the Joseph Campbell book from other people that it's like that line is pretty much verbatim from that book. So all the people that hate on that line, like that is George got a lot of his the hero's journey and everything from Joseph Campbell, along with a bunch of all of his other influences growing up as a kid. But it's like that's kind of what it's just it kind of all ties together, and it's like you just kind of you gotta, in my opinion, you just kind of have to accept it. And if there's something you don't like, I mean, just don't watch the movie again. Like I got no problem with you sitting here talking about how much you don't like The Rise of Skywalker because you preface it or end it with, but if you like it, go ahead and like it. It's when people, if you were to talk about it like you did, and then say you're a fucking idiot and never like Star Wars if you like the movie, that's what the issue where it really comes in.
Yeah, look, if anything, I'm the idiot. But in most times, but yeah, I like the movie wasn't like I finally. A part of me likes it in the I'm charmed by it in it was finally something Star Warsy I didn't like, and it was like for years I smugly was like, aha, people hated the prequels, but I liked them, so I'm the lucky one. I didn't particularly like the animated Clone Wars movie, but nobody really seems to count that as a cinematic Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
But like this was the first time I was like, a Star Wars movie isn't for me. Where something like, and I know Emily Lynn's listening, and I don't care. Solo, I loved, and I kept going back. I was the person that went back and back and kept seeing Solo because to me, I felt Solo reminded me of a movie I would have adored as a teenager, or as a kid. It sort of just had that fun vibe. It was an easy watch. It was pretty fast paced. Like I really liked Solo. I'm a realist. Like I get the people with the make Solo 2 happen, and like God bless them and good luck. It didn't make enough money, and like my hope is maybe we get a Disney Plus series coming out of it, and it sounds like we might, and that's pretty cool. But as much as I loved that movie and as much as it set something up, dollars talk. But unquestionably Disney did a horrible marketing job with that movie, from ripping off the designs, those album covers that they repurposed for Solo. When they dropped the trailer, like there was no good toy distribution or excitement or event for, like, Wookiee Wednesday was a non-event here in Australia, and I doubt it was much in America. Like they really dropped the ball. So it hasn't all been smooth sailing, but I think, like, when I look at the sequel trilogy, it's my least favorite of the three trilogies, but there's no doubt I had a lot of fun during the journey of them coming out. You know what I mean? And I might go back and look back on them differently in a few years' time, but I enjoyed the journey of the sequel trilogy. Just the end result, they didn't stick the landing for me, and that's okay. You know, I you know, there's plenty of people that don't like Revenge of the Sith, and I can watch that movie a million times over. You know, it's all very different, and the novelization is good. I don't care what people think.
Yeah, the novelization's even better. Let's get. I think
hate that book, and it's like I don't know what I hate that book.
Well, because they add so much stuff from the movie that's not in the movie. But I mean, that's what, you know, like my feeling on it is, like, the movies are the movies and they should be a complete thing. But the books, it's not filling in plot holes or whatever. It's like I said the other day to somebody, if I go and meet you and you tell me your life story that you want me to know, and now I know, for an hour, the 2 hours that you talk to me, your life story, and then I find out over the next couple of years of us being friends, all these other side stories that, well, how did this happen? That doesn't seem like it would be possible for you and your life or whatever. Just all these little things that add up, or, oh, I never understood why that happened, or, oh, you were divorced. I never knew that. It's like just things that you're not told. It's like, it doesn't mean you're making things up or changing the lives or whatever. I think that's kind of like what happens with the books, do with the movies. And then it's also people asking questions that don't need to be answered. I mean, if a lightsaber came out today, and it's Star Wars, they never had lightsabers before, a lightsaber came out today, people would be up in arms. How does it work? It's impossible. Physics, it's impossible for a lightsaber to work. But, back when Star Wars came out, okay, that's what they told us. I mean, that's kind of how, when I went to go, I've seen every Disney era Star Wars movie with my dad. I always travel back to Buffalo at some point in time. It helps that my birthday's in February, and they always come out during Christmas or whatever it is. So I have that little window to make it back and a reason to do it. Which is another story too, because him and I didn't get along very well, and it's not that Star Wars brought us together, but it was kind of like an excuse to kind of, I was an asshole as a kid, and he treated me like an asshole because I was an asshole. So it's kind of like Star Wars kind of helped as a buffer for a while. But he's the same way. It's like, he's a Star Wars fan. He's seen all the movies. He's seen them all in the theaters. If it comes on TV, he'll turn it on. But he's never read a book. He's never read a comic book. He couldn't tell you anything about them. And he thinks, oh, the movie was great. Oh, they brought Palpatine back. Okay. Well, do you want to know how or what? Nope, I don't care. Because he's like
I can understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the Star Wars fan that just like Star Wars the movies. They don't care about everything else. But yeah, I think going back, I think the Last Jedi is my favorite movie. It's the I call it, it's like the most Jedi of the Jedi movies, and the mysticism and like the philosophy and everything about that. But I loved Solo. I saw Solo in 4D opening night. So I was in the chair and it was moving around like a spaceship and everything. I also went to Good Morning America and saw the premiere of Solo. And the great thing about that, I was the only one there that was a Star Wars fan. There was one other person there that had on a Star Wars shirt, but they didn't even know there was a movie coming out. They sat me with this person. He's like, "Oh yeah, I love Star Wars." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I started talking to him. He's like, "Wait, what trailer? What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Oh, the Solo movie." "Oh, there's another movie coming out?" And I was just like, so I mean, that's all. There's a bunch of things that go into it, but I really think the marketing, when anytime Good Morning America is going to show a trailer, you can't get tickets because there's Star Wars fans trying to get in there, and you can even see whatever the next one is in a couple of years in the crowd. There's going to be people in Star Wars. They don't let you wear costumes, but it's Star Wars shirts or whatever it is, and I'm the only one there, and I actually found.
Yeah, it was. Look, it was.
Oh,
You there?
Yep, I'm here. I don't know if that was you or me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not too sure. But I always say the sliding doors moment I'd love to see is what happens if Solo comes out a year after The Force Awakens and Rogue One comes out in the Solo slot. Like, what would happen? Like, what would have been the box office? Like, what would have happened? How would have it been received? You know, like it would have been almost made sense that you saw Han die, spoiler alert, and then the next movie you see is about a younger version of him. That would almost be poetic in a way of telling the story that way.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it like that. You know, and the other thing too about Solo is, you know, I mean, Emily doesn't like the movie, but there's a lot of people out there that. Well, don't tell her I said this, but I actually, you know, I kind of do value her opinion with certain things. Cause like I wouldn't be listening. I wouldn't know you if I didn't listen to her talk about you guys. But maybe that, you know what? Maybe that's the only good opinion she has. I don't know. You know, I'm not going to say that, but I guess that's kind of what you're implying. But
I'm absolutely saying it. Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't remember what the hell I was saying now. But yeah.
No,
so
we were
like
talking about the release of the movies.
Yeah. So Solo comes out, and a lot of people are saying, you know, why I never knew it was that good, and you know, why didn't anybody tell me? And you know, that's when it came out on DVD or came out on Netflix. Well, not DVD because people, but then it came out on Netflix. And people were like, oh my god, the movie was so good, no one told me. And then it came out on Disney Plus, and even people that are getting Disney Plus are like, the movie was so good, why didn't anybody tell me? And it's like, you know, the people that like Solo have been telling you how good the movie is, and no, you just didn't care. You're like, oh no, I'll wait for it to come out on on Netflix. I'll wait for it to come out. You know, whatever. I don't have Netflix. I'll wait for it to come out on Disney Plus when it comes out in a year. And
look, we're in a golden age that we have Disney Plus, and we can just turn on a. We will just be able to turn on and watch any Star Wars movie we want at any point in time. Like that's pretty cool.
And then speaking of Disney Plus, so what about Milan? How do you feel about that? Are you gonna spend the $30 to see it?
I don't think the price is unreasonable. Like when you factor in, if a few of you go to the cinema and buy food and stuff, it's comparable. It's an interesting experiment. I think it's the wrong movie to do the experiment with, because I'm not sure how much demand there is for Milan. Although we saw Trolls World Tour sitting atop the charts forever, so you never know. And I think Milan looks cool. Like I'd certainly watch it. But then you're hearing that it's going to be on Disney Plus in 3 months anyway, and then it's like, well, I'll just wait. And I don't know if those rumors are true. But you're also talking to somebody that will waste money on anything. So just for the sake of, I could picture myself sitting there going, no, I've got nothing to do. I'm just going to watch Milan. Bang, there's $30. But it's interesting that they're doing that with Milan. They didn't do it with Hamilton. And they're definitely holding back the Black Widow. And I felt Black Widow was the movie to test it on, because if any movie was going to motivate couples, and I guess they're trying to engage kids, but I'm not. I guess now that you've got me thinking about it, my wheels are spinning. Is what is Disney Plus and who is it for? Because they've chosen Milan. Like if they choose Black Widow, does that really appeal to kids? Like Black Widow, from the trailer I saw, doesn't seem like a kiddie movie.
Yeah.
So then they're hoping that your teens and your adults are going to be buying it. I guess they're gambling that parents buying Milan for kids is going to be more appealing than teenagers and adults buying something like Black Widow. or they might just want to keep Marvel in their cinemas and don't want to risk putting a Marvel movie direct to Disney Plus. It's a weird move. Like, it's weird.
I think it's definitely a kids thing, because if it like, I would say Black Widow, I'm gonna get Milan when it comes out. I decided I was gonna when they announced it, and I was like, $30 isn't bad, especially New York City. You can find a cheap theater for $17 for a ticket. If you want to sit in a nice theater, or whatever, it's going to be $22, $23. Throw out a couple of dollars for 3D or an IMAX. By the time I hop on the train and buy a ticket, it's going to cost me $30 anyways, and that doesn't even include getting food or whatever else. So, would I like to see it in the theater because it's more of an experience? You have the sound and the huge screen, definitely, but there's not one open right now. And I figured it would. I figured it was going to be
like, just say it was Aladdin, right?
Mm-hmm.
The kids see the trailer. Will Smith, Freaky Genie, is out there. You're going to get big songs and stuff. I've never seen the Milan animated movie, but I know there's a dragon in it, voiced by Eddie Murphy and stuff like that. And so that's the fun element of the movie and stuff. And from memory, and I could be wrong, that fun element wasn't in the trailer. So what's the hook for the kids?
There's no dragon in it. Not even a CGI or anything. It's her being a warrior, and it's elevated from a kid's cartoon to a girl's. I don't even think you can call it a woman, like a girl's empowerment movie versus a cartoon dragon movie that has to do with a girl. So I don't know until I see it. But then when I found out it was going to be in December, I was like, do I really want to see it that bad? And I was like, and like the deciding factor for me was I would go see, like, if it came out in theaters tomorrow and theaters in New York City were open, I would go see it.
Okay.
So that was kind of why I was like, okay, I'm going to get it. And it just gives me something to do, and I can. If it wasn't COVID time, maybe not. That's where a lot of things are up in the air now. It's like, they're experimenting with this to see, is this the right thing to do? I don't know when New York City theaters are going to be open. Broadway's not opening until after, into 2021. Broadway's not opening back up. So if they do that with all the theater, they haven't announced that for movie theaters, but if they do that with that, that means no movies for Christmas, no nothing, unless they kind of sneak in, okay, well, movie theaters a little bit, but that's where, that's, I don't know. That's a whole other conversation in itself.
So
because
in other states in Australia, cinemas have opened, not in Victoria where I am. And Tenet got released into the cinemas. So like people like Turbo and stuff have seen Tenet. But like, it's funny, like the cinemas, if I wore a mask and if they did social distance seating, the cinemas wouldn't bother me too much. But I'm not in New York City. It's I'm out in the foothills of the Dandenongs in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. I'm a long way away from things being packed. There's very low COVID cases where I am in particular. But I don't blame anybody that doesn't want to be in any form of crowded room until something like an immunization is sorted, or I don't know. It's yeah.
I'm at the point where I'm not saying if we want to, we should be able to. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, fuck the rules, whatever you're saying. If I want to, I should be able to. That's not what I'm saying at all. Because what they've done in New York City, went from thousands of cases a day to we're doing really good. We're only getting 200 cases a day now, being diagnosed. And it's like, that's really good. So you think about, like, you guys got 200 cases in a week and shut down. We're getting 200
Yeah.
You know, we're getting, so I mean, it's just like the RT value, or the RT ratio is under 1. It's like it's been at like 0.92 or 0.93, which means, you know, the how many people that are being infected, blah blah blah, all the science. So I mean, we're doing good. We got to get that lower, and you know, the big thing's gonna be what happens. Our schools are opening next week, I think, or in a couple weeks. So the school's open. We got to see what happens with cases like that, and you know, I got COVID in April, and you know, I didn't get sick. I just had a hard time breathing. And the more that the summer progressed, the hotter the weather got, the more humid the weather got. You know, I have to use an inhaler. I can't walk up 2 flights of stairs to get to my apartment. Everything else is fine. I never really got sick. I was a little bit tired, and you know, I'm still going to the doctors for that. They have me on another round of steroids, and you know, I do those steroids for 2 weeks. Then I have 2 weeks off of them. Then I go back and they do another lung function test to see, you know, what the diminished capacity is, whatever percentage wise, and how I can do, and you know, whether or not I can go back to work, or if not, they told me that it'll be another round of 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks being off, and then you know, then if that doesn't work, then they'll have to do something invasive. I don't know what the hell you do that's invasive for, you know, when you have basically what happens is I had an infection in my lungs, and because you know, you can't rest your lungs are always breathing. It takes so long for them to get better.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so that's where I am. Like my doctor said, if it was your wrist, you don't use your wrist. Well, you have to use your wrist. So it's like if you go out and keep playing tennis, it's never going to get better. So we got to figure out how to put a splint on your lungs so that they heal. But you know,
I'd have so much trouble if they told me I couldn't use my wrist.
That's why you have 2. You can cheat on yourself.
I'm not ambidextrous. Michael, look, I've got to cut this short and go.
Right.
Apologies. But it's been fun chatting. I appreciate you having me on. And
it was wonderful, man.
Yeah, I hope. Look, I'm sure everybody's going to be excited by you vamp before the main event turns up. But yeah, I hope you get better soon, because you know, like, you're an example of COVID's real, and just because it's not necessarily killing everybody, it doesn't mean that it's not having effects on everybody. And just wear your mask, people, and chill out and take it easy. And if you're stressed out, hopefully you can get lost in some nerd stuff. Hopefully we get a Mando season 2 trailer at some point if Disney decide they want to maybe promote their event, their show that's coming up in a month's time. But yeah, it's yeah, thank you, man. Much appreciated.
Oh, I appreciate you coming on. It was, you know, it was a blast. I had a good time.
Yep, good to finally chat. But yeah, I am a night shift worker, and I am well into the point of turning into a vampire. So if I don't get some sleep, it's gonna be a disaster. But to all the people listening, thanks for having me as well. And yeah, we'll speak again soon.
All right, Chris. Thank you very much.
No worries. Take care.
All right, everyone. That was Chris Fresh from the Geek Dudes podcast and Hey Hey podcast. We didn't even get to talk about that because there's just, you know, so much to talk about. That's Hey Hey It's Saturday is one of the an Australian show, and it was on in the 90s, and it's a trip listening to them talk about it every week in the episodes, and then find clips of it and everything on YouTube. So go check him out there, and you can find that on Twitter and maybe Facebook too. I don't know. I'll find out. But if you look at the notes will be there. With that, I say good day. May the force be with you. All right. See, I remember to finish off, like, to turn into a podcast so it just doesn't end. So I don't know. Patrick, are you still here? Or are you on your way home from work, or what are you doing? And why is my computer not charging? Oh, I unplugged my computer. That's why it's not charging. All right. Well, that was a great time, people. We got Steel coming on in a little while, and we're just going to keep this going because that's how we do. I don't even know. Oh, I'm losing control over here. Yeah, Mike, if you're still here, Mike Zarbo, you left a comment, and when you comment on Facebook, it doesn't show up in my feed. It just comes up as Facebook user and doesn't know who. So he was talking. I was trying to search and find out who it was when you left the comment about the Plagueis novel. But that so that didn't work. I will let you know right now. For those of you that are still here, I'll talk about it again later. I've had the Patreon for a while, and I've had mostly a good solid viewership, or solid group of people on there. Only it's only been like 5 or 6, but it's been pretty consistent of the same people. But I put in some tiers for you today. So nothing changed. Everyone, all the tiers that are on there are what people were already donating. So there's a $2 tier, a $5 tier, a $10 tier, and a $20 tier. Because that's what people were already given. So I said we'll make up tiers for them, and maybe we'll get some friends hopping on there too. I'll tell you right now why we're doing this. We now have tiers. What are the tiers? How do I find them? I don't know how to do anything here. That will let me do it. New post. Maybe that will work. No. I don't know. I don't want to tell you guys something wrong. That's why I'm just trying to find this right quick. Okay. Pauline, I know it's getting late for you. But at 11:30 our time, Steel Saunders is coming on. Or you can just catch the replay later on. So we'll just put that on there real quick. In case anybody wants to stop on here. I know Patrick said he's not coming on. We got some other people, but yeah, so we also have, what the hell happened today? I was making sure we didn't have any breaking news or anything happen. They didn't drop a Mando trailer while we were live, doing anything. Just checking this really quick. I don't even know what's going on. Oh, all right, so doesn't look like anything crazy dropped or anything crazy happened for that. This is great. I'm like, oh my god! Yeah, I got a new iPad too. So that was fun. Here we go. All right, so here we go. I got to make sure all this makes sense too, that there isn't anything crazy on there. But okay. If you can see that. So this is already what people were donating. 2, 5, 10, and 20. The $2 one, thank you for showing your support. The $5 one, tell us the $5 one again. Access to exclusive content. So yeah. The $10 one, a stim pack every 6 months, early access to content, not just access to exclusive content, but early access to content. Patreon only voting power. If we get some more patrons in here, we might be able to try and decide what we want to do. And then the $20 per month one, exclusive Patreon only t-shirt every 6 months, a Funko Pop from my non-collection every 6 months, Patreon only tie-breaking voting power. So let's say it is a tie on the $10 tier, and there's, then that goes up to there. So that's what how did I get shit on here already? All right, let's see. I'm coming, people. Don't worry. I know this is riveting if you're watching right now, so that's all that really matters. Um, My lord. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hey,
What are you doing?
nothing here.
All right. I can't turn this off. I can't figure out what to do. All right. Are you going to come on later on?
I'm right here.
Okay.
Now?
Well, we're not doing what we had. We had one person. Now we're having another person. Then we're going to do what's in the box afterwards.
Okay.
You going to come back later on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Hello, Steele.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you doing?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
You're perfect.
All right. All right, sweet.
We just finished up with Chris Fresh.
Yeah, I just actually just like rewound a bit on the YouTube thing, and just while I was setting up, was listening to him talk. Bemoaning his Toys R Us.
Yes.
I don't want to grow up.
So it was a good time. You're finishing up. August is Australia month.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Josh Chapman was the first week, and then the guys from Blue Bantha the second week.
Mhm.
Mike Zarbo from It's True All of It, the podcast.
Oh, okay.
With Dale Williams, and then last week was Shane Morrissey.
Oh, tight.
So, yeah, that was, the Australians couldn't come here for celebration because there was no celebration and everyone was quarantined. So I said, well, I'm going to bring them to me.
Nice. Just trying to line this up. So I just started trying to stream more, but I got to get some stuff going back here, make it a little bit more pleasant.
Yeah. I got a couple Funkos, a couple Black Series. I have a lot more. That's just all I have out for Joe.
Hey, we've all got a lot more.
This is what I'm allowed to have displayed in the common area. So that for sure.
I've got a little nook in the house. Oh, is that on your end or mine?
I don't hear anything.
It's like a radio or a lady talking or something.
No, I don't hear anything.
Are you sure? It's actually coming through on this window.
Let me make sure I don't have anything else open.
Yeah, I can just hear it's like a lady's news report, or it seems like it's stopped now though.
I don't have any other windows open.
Oh no, I can hear something.
Are we good now? I just closed all my other windows that I had open. Not that I think.
Yeah, I feel like it's gone. I was sort of just ignoring it, and then I was like, "Oh wait, it was like a headache." I was sort of like ignoring it, but it was. I was like, I wasn't ready to. I had to like address that noise was making me miserable. So whereabouts are you?
New York City.
Oh, it's high.
Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. I'll give me 1 second here.
So this chat, that's not the YouTube chat. That's our chat. Yeah.
Pardon?
I know. I think
It's gonna be. I'm about to start it over for us.
all right. Whenever you're good.
Hi everyone, this is Michael Connon representing the TooMedToo's Star Wars Network. We've got your fix. And this is the Bacta tank. This is going to be our last episode of August is Australia month. And we're bringing in none other than Steele Saunders. Steele, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you going?
I'm doing very well.
It's like a Star Wars movie, The Last Australian.
Yes. You would probably know a lot about that because, you were the first Australian to make it in the big time in the Star Wars world. I mean, well, you have like Star Walking Incorporated, but for as podcasters, you're I think the biggest one. Or we've talked about.
I would argue big time, but I'm definitely an Australian and a big Australian at that. So, well,
like we were talking earlier, I was talking with Chris Fresh earlier today, and you're kind of the person that brought a lot of the Star Wars community together. Certain people were listening to you and started their own podcasts, and then other people were listening to them. That's how they came to you. So you're kind of at the center of the pinnacle, if you will, for a lot of the podcast community.
It was so fun and bizarre at Celebration in Chicago to see like people I knew from the podcast in Australia, like hanging out with people from the people that I knew in America or wherever. It was just so, because you just don't think they're ever going to mix.
Mhm.
And so that was really cool. But it's like a lot of people have met through the podcast and through the things we've done and that. So it's cool because when I was before I started doing the podcast, I was I'd go to Star Wars things. I'd go to Star Walking and not know a person. Shane Morrissey would always say hello to me though. He was always very nice. So, but yeah, I didn't have like Star Wars like crew sort of thing. So it's actually a bizarre thing to go to a Star Wars thing now and like know people. It's because I used to just like not talk to anyone for like 8 hours. I'd order a coffee. I would mouth the order for the coffee.
Well, actually, Shane Morrissey did name drop you last week when he was on. He said, "Do you know Steele Saunders?" I said, "I know who he is." Yeah, and so
I have known Shane since 1995 or 6, before the special editions. And I did a punk rock music zine that had a Star Wars theme to it called Return of the Punk Guy. And, we interviewed like Blink-182 and The Descendants and Bad Religion, all this cool stuff, NoFX. But I would also do a Star Wars article every issue. And I also just wanted to meet Star Wars people. So I don't know how I would have gotten in contact with him back then because email was very new. So maybe he gave me his phone number or something. But I went to his house. It was like an hour and a half away. And I'd never been to a Star Wars person's house before. And he just had a piece of the Death Star in his cupboard. And he showed me the headbutting stormtrooper for the first time. Like I never knew about it. And it just came up in conversation. He goes, "Oh, and then I got home and just started ringing people and going, "Hey man, you got to put on Star Wars to this minute because this guy hits his head. It's the funniest thing ever." Because we weren't watching it on YouTube or anything like that. The 90s, it was dry.
Yeah, there was nothing to do except skateboard and
did plenty of that.
But yeah, celebration, man. Last year, it was my first celebration, and I was at Echo Base with all of the people, and your show is honestly one of the highlights of that trip.
The live one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something.
Yeah. Actually, Pappas was on. I do another show.
Mikey Pappas. Hey, you selling that Funko?
This one I do on Mondays. It's kind of like the nicer, kind of, so I can turn it into a podcast or whatever.
You had Mike Pappas on the nicer one, and I got the less nice one?
No. This one's the nice one. He came on. So this is the Bacta tank. This is the Bacta tank. It's all about good, with the name with the 21B droid. And then the septic tanks, it's kind of the opposite, is on Saturday nights. And that's what Pappas slept through, came home from whatever he was doing, took a nap, and didn't wake up for his podcast. And then saw that I was on, and I sent a message. I said, "Hey, come on." And he's like, "Dude, I feel so bad. I slept through my podcast. Johnny's going to be mad at me."
Again. Johnny's going to be mad at him again.
So,
oh my God. He's crazy. Did you see that thing where he was like in the park, like going on about Transformers?
Yeah.
It's just like it's just a wild ride with that dude.
With the bus. Yeah, he's a good trip. He's even though we're both in New York City, I'm at the bottom part and he's up around over. So if I had a car, it would take me like 30 minutes to get to his house. But because I don't, if I'm going to take a bus or the train, it takes like 2 hours. And I've made the trip to his house a few times, and it's a good time.
I think he's moved since the last time I went there once. We had we had a slumber party.
Yep.
A bunch of podcasts and stuff as part of New York Comic Con, and yeah, it was very fun. He's a wild packet of chips.
He sure is. Yeah, that was the toilet paper sleepover one, right?
Oh yeah.
Or,
I'd forgotten about all that. Oh my god.
Yeah, but that's that's a classic Papa story. He went out to go buy toilet paper and came back with 2 cases of beer and forgot the toilet paper.
That was preferred for me. I was I was very much up for the beer that night, but I wouldn't be. Yeah, I'm not using Mike Pavis's toilet. Who knows what's going on there?
So with Celebration being canceled this year,
yep.
What kind of plans did you have? Were you going to have another show, another live show?
Oh man, yeah. I just was about to put the tickets on sale, and I don't know if it was February or March. Oh, it's all. But I'd been down a couple times and sussed out some venues, and it was about to put the tickets on sale, and then it was sort of, I don't know, something came out. It was getting a bit bumpy, or maybe things were getting cancelled, and I was like, it's probably not a good time to put them on sale now when all these things are getting cancelled. And then after a while, I was like, yep, that's not happening. So it's the whole thing's a shame. But I as you were there, the live shows, it's a lot of fun, and it's just a lot of people laughing a lot, and then hanging out afterwards, and I really miss doing the shows live. I used to do them all the time in Australia, and did a fair few here, but the ones at the conventions where you've got people that they've all come around from the world, and they're hyped to hang with their friends that they've never met before. Just the vibe is a lot more electric, sort of thing. People are just up for they're not just I'm going to go see podcasts. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to clock it here. And that last one in Chicago, that was so much fun. And just, I think I ended up in my hotel room at about 4 a.m. with who was it with? Raj and this was there. The guy from Sisters. Oh, I can't even remember who was there. But we stayed there. They were getting a plane the next day.
Yep.
And that out it
was that night.
Yeah. So it was Les who was there with us. Who wasn't there? And that was just an epic night. It was so fun.
So now, growing up in Australia, now you're originally from Australia, correct?
I hope so.
Well, though, just because when I learned some interesting stuff, I always thought Chapman was from Australia and then moved to England and then moved back to Australia, but it was the other way around. He was from England and moved to Australia. Neither one of the guys from Blue Bantha are from Australia originally.
I actually didn't know that about Chapman either. I thought he just visited London, just lived there for a little bit. He's actually from London.
No, he's from Australia. I thought it was the other way around. I thought he was from London.
Okay.
But but Matt from Blue Bantha was born in the United States. So that's why I'm just, trying to get it down, because, people that I just assumed or thought were born and raised in Australia find out, no, Matt was born in, on an Air Force base or whatever in Nevada, Las Vegas, and ended up moving there.
Oh, my little lights going on and off. No, I am well and truly Australian. What is with this light flickering on? Wow. That would be something if I got electrocuted then and we got to live stream it. That would have been dope. So it's doing this weird flicky thing. It's and now I've looked in it and now all I can see is like dots all over the screen. So what stuff do you plan to do at Celebration?
Well, I was gonna leave. So I was supposed to be in the house with the band Motivators and Candlebite and Rusty, and I was still trying to figure out if I was gonna go to Disneyland. I wasn't doing the overnight one or the nighttime one because I figured it would be fun to hang out with everybody and friends. But if I'm going to go to Disneyland, I want to be able to ride the rides. And if there's only one ride open, kind of defeats the purpose. So I was trying to figure out, I was going to make sure I had 2 days for Disneyland because I don't know the next time I'm going to get there. And I don't want it to be, I want to do Olga's Cantina. I want to build a lightsaber. I want to ride the rides. I don't want to miss something if something doesn't work out. So I was like, well, I'd rather spend the extra day and the extra money and just knowing that I'd be able to get it done or take care of it.
Were you gonna go before or after the convention? What was your strategy?
Both. I was gonna go one day before. I was gonna go one day. So I was gonna get there Monday. I was gonna fly Monday night, and then get a hotel room or just cheap little place, whatever around there, and have that for Tuesday. Just someplace to put my stuff. Go to Disney on Tuesday, and then come back, and then go to the house on Wednesday, and have all that fun, saying hi to everybody, festivities, and then have Celebration, and then have another day left over. And because that way, I also figured it would be, instead of doing the 2 days before or 2 days after, I'd be able to hang out with two different groups of friends because most people were going to do a day, the 2 days before, the 2 days after, the day before, day after. So I figured I'd be able to get bookend it and have Celebration in the middle was my idea.
Good plan.
Really,
I haven't even been on that ride yet. Because when I went on like a demo day, and like the park hadn't opened, and I didn't go because of the podcast. I sort of went because someone that worked at Disney listened to my podcast and had a spare ticket, but it wasn't like a press day or anything. It was just for like friends and family to test it out. And yeah, they hadn't opened up the Rise of Resistance, of course. So I've been on that Millennium Falcon one a bunch of times that day, but it's sort of weird. This like the best ride ever, apparently, especially to my taste. It's like an hour down the road, and I've never got to ride it because I didn't want to pay $150 to go to Disneyland.
So
and now I can't go.
It should be opening now. I was going to say it should be opening, but soon enough. But you guys are kind of pulling back your restrictions, right, or putting them back into place.
I don't know what's going on. I just
stay home and then try not to.
Yeah, I just keep low key, and it's weird because I've also got to follow all the restrictions that are going on in Melbourne for my for other real life stuff. So I'm always getting confused about what country's got what restrictions and what's it like. But yeah, I'm not going to Disneyland anytime soon. If they can open it up, I'm just hanging out here. I'm happy to be healthy after 6 months of this. So I'm gonna keep it that way. Keep my little boy okay. But I do want to go on that ride. But I do not want to be sick. So
yeah, I had COVID in the beginning of April, and
no way.
I never got.
Can you get it through the internet?
I hope not, because I would probably give it to a lot of people.
God, you hope not.
I'd feel bad if I killed Steel through the internet.
So what was the deal? Like, what was the?
I didn't get sick. I didn't have anything really wrong with me. I was a little bit tired, but not like anything.
Hey, we're all a bit tired.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a little bit more than normal. And I got a little cough for a day or two, and I couldn't work because I had a cough. And then it started like walking up. I live on the third floor, so I have to walk up 2 flights of stairs. Walking up the 2 flights of stairs, I couldn't walk up both flights of stairs without being out of breath. I had to go get an inhaler. And being in New York City, it was so bad here that if I wasn't sick enough to go to the hospital, they didn't care about testing you. It just didn't matter.
Yeah.
If you weren't ready to die, they weren't testing you. So that's where the numbers are still. Everybody that talks about the numbers and everything, like the numbers are all messed up, plus and negative, because why aren't you getting tested? Because you're not sick enough to get tested. And then what if it was? So yeah, it's all just a big mess when it comes down to everything. But I'm still dealing with it, and they were just like, stay home. Come back in a month, see if you feel better. Come back in a month, see if you feel better. And now it's just going to the doctors for test after test, and they can't just go and be like, okay, spend the entire day at the hospital getting test after test. It's like, we'll come back in 2 weeks so we can look at the results, and then you go back, and then it's like, okay, I'll schedule a test for another 2 weeks and come back after that. And so right now they have me on a round of steroids, and then a couple weeks off of steroids, and I go back to the doctor, and they'll. It was like I said, you sit in a little box, you breathe into a tube, and so they check your lung function, how much your output or input that you can take.
Yeah. So are you allowed to go to work now, or?
I can't work right now because I can't pass a physical.
Wow.
So I'm out of work and just hanging out, streaming, playing Star Wars, and
enjoying the final days of Australian month.
Yes. But it was funny. I actually, a lot of people know that they know because I'm always posting Star Wars podcast lists and everything. And my podcast lists have actually gone down quite a bit because, if I know you hate this, but I listen to usually a little bit faster than 1 speed. But we won't talk about that now. That's for a different conversation.
I'm so sorry that I do love Star Wars. I can't. You got it's fine. It's your thing, but I really like the rhythm of the way people talk, and especially through stand up. There's just a rhythm and a timing, and to have it. I've accidentally bumped podcasts into 1.25 or something, and it was just because it's just there's something. I just because the people I listen to, I really listen to them so a lot, and so to have them just talking faster, but that's fine. It's you live your life your way. I'm not here.
Well, I equate it to reading. Some people read at different rates. Some people listen to things at different rates. That's just kind of where I'm going. But
again, I'm fine with you doing it, but it's not the same as reading fast.
Okay. That's how I justify it. I didn't say it's the same, but
do you watch movies in 1.5 speed to get through it?
No. But there was that talk about Netflix doing it, putting that option on there to speed up movies. Then it might be a different. I don't know if I can do that, but that's the thing. It's so living in New York City. I put my earbuds in. They're waterproof. I can get up, walk the dog, take a shower, go to work. That's an hour to 2 hours that I can do with a podcast if I'm not watching TV or. You all good?
Yeah. Sorry, I just things pop up. I've got 2 screens. That's why.
Oh, see, that must be nice. I only have one. But yeah, so it's like, that's an hour or two for podcasts right there. So on the way, my day going to work and coming home from work, that's 3 to 4 hours. So that's 3 to 4 hours with a podcast I can get done, or YouTube or whatever. And then, depending on work, sometimes, I would never listen to a podcast while I was at work because it's not allowed. But if that was ever to happen, there could be another couple hours in there. So, I can do 4 or 6 hours of podcasts, and that's without really doing anything like sitting down and listening to them or whatever. The same with the books. So I do the audiobooks too. Now, how do you feel about audiobooks?
I don't know. That's how I get it done. But sometimes, it's hard to stay engaged. You got to be a bit more. I feel like it's good for driving, but when you're working, because I listen to a podcast when I do, if I can, I will. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm cleaning the house, if I'm by myself, without question, got to put a podcast on. Have to. I don't want to be alone with my thoughts. Oh, I've had them. They're shocking. So I just pound them all day, except when I'm recording or editing. Once. Or then there's the thing that happens where I'm on one, and then I can't listen to it that week, and I get really annoyed. So.
Yeah, I don't like listening to anything that I've been on. Now, how are you?
Absolutely the worst thing ever. It's I hear people that just listen back. I think on the Bad Motives, they're saying, "Oh yeah, I listened back to that one." It's what do you do? What? I grind my teeth while edit, sort of cleaning it up to get it online. Oh no, sound you seem to be dealing with it fine, but for me, the sound of my voice it's zero buys, no good.
Yeah, I find your voice very soothing, so you don't have to worry about that. But when I listen to it, when I'm editing, I hate it because all the qualifiers and everything and saying or whatever, that drives me crazy. And if I listen to myself, if I go back and listen to this, it's gonna drive me fucking insane that that's the way I'm talking and I don't sound good or anything like that. If you say it, it's not gonna bother. It's not gonna faze me at all. I'll be like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I'm exactly the same. All the ums and like is mine. I love a good like. It's an amazing word to fill some time. But I'm trying to. That's a good thing about editing and stuff, is you do. If you let it annoy you in the right way, you can sometimes get out of saying it. But
And then, are you at the point now where, when you're looking at it, you can tell by the spikes what words you're using, or
I can sometimes find ums when I concentrate, but I sort of don't need. It's just not how I'm not looking at the matrix with the things go up. That'd be sick. Just to be able to go through and be able to there's an I spot it. But nah.
Yeah, Araj claims he can do that, and he can do that with everybody on the show because he's done it so much that he knows exactly what it is. But that's not my.
He's crazy. I was telling when he was about to have Malik, I'm just you got to get out of this. How much you're editing these shows, buddy, with all these clips. You're going to go crazy trying to fit all this in because you just do not have a gauge at how your time will. You've got this. I had this thing. I went to classes. I read books. I was under the impression still that I could put Harry down in his little bouncy seat that we got him. And he'd just sit there and just go to sleep or just gaga and goo goo and TV is really doing wonders for the baby community because they're really overselling how self-sufficient they are. But yeah, that was a crazy thing when Harry was born. It's just like, there is no time. It's gone. I thought there would be time, but there's not, because it doesn't work out how you'd imagine it all. And now things are sort of in check. But yeah, Araj, and he just didn't stop. He's always editing those bloody movie clips and all that sort of stuff. But very fun show. I actually don't. Sometimes I like shows with clips in them, but sometimes I'm just like, just get to the new content. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but his, like you were saying, his are, I don't know how much time he actually spends looking for the clips, because it's not like he's just like, oh, I'm going to put this clip in there. Like, they actually feel very thought out, and he's actually spending time and searching for them and trying to find, not just saying, okay, this clip is good enough. It's going to be, this is turning into the Raj, show. But, saying like,
audio is hard
enough.
work to do that, because I do the ones for me and Horns from Blue Harvest do a podcast called Star Wars Year by Podcast, where we go through Star Wars history, and I do an enhanced version and put on YouTube, and it's super fun to put, images that fit, and then funny things, little in jokes and stuff. And it's time consuming, try to drag it in and stuff, but you're still just like on Google Image, just like going like Palpatine lightning, like it's, and then you just see what comes up, and it's like that sort of thing. But to come out with the sound clips and stuff, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm one of those sickos that I go in spurts. Like, you've put out so much content on your Patreon page right now that I'm way behind. But I'll sometimes be a month behind on Patreon, and then I won't do anything for a day except listen to all Patreon shows, because I have you, Blue Harvest, Bad Motivators. So I'll just do that, and then it'll be, whatever your year by year is, I'll have the book out and watch it on the computer if it's on there. Taking a picture, putting it on there, because that's, if you're going to do it, you might as well get all in. I mean, it's great if someone's just going to listen to it, but if you have the book, why not follow along?
Yeah, well, I never imagined people would watch the enhanced version and have the book. That's doubling down. But we're actually going to do not a live one, but we're going to do a premiere of the new one. I was trying to get it out for Celebration Weekend, but I was like, oh, we'll do Horse. We'll record one on Tuesday, and I'll be able to get it up by Friday, no sweat. We do like one that's almost 3 hours. That's a lot of little pictures. So I think I've got like 10 minutes left. I'm doing the Lost section now, but yeah, we're going to do like a premiere, like with a live chat, I think on Saturday night. So you can, it should be great for the sickos. Hopefully Catherine Nean will be able to come and she can sicko it up.
That'll be wonderful. And then the one thing I wanted to talk to you too, because it's like everybody comes on here because it's a Star Wars thing, and we're all brought together by Star Wars. But when you get together with your Star Wars friends that you're friends with in real life, you talk about Star Wars a little bit, but it's everything else that you talk about. So like that, and that's what people come on here, and I've had people on here, and they've been on here for a half hour before we even talk about Star Wars. But you have another podcast besides Steel Wars.
Yeah, which one? I got a few random ones floating around. What do you refer? Which one?
There's one that you just started or something.
Oh, yes. Okay, so that one's called Manchester Lane Radio, and I own a sneaker store, like a sneaker streetwear store in Melbourne called the Shore Store, and I was just trying to think of ways to promote it, and I wanted to do it like an interview podcast that wasn't Star Wars, because I'd sort of missed just doing that sort of stuff, and so yeah, I thought if I like you've got the thing of, you do a podcast, it gets popular, so you make merch. And I was like, oh, what if I've already got the merch and I'll make a podcast for it to promote the shop?
So like He-Man toys, basically.
And kind of, yeah, like He-Man toys. And yeah, so because I used to do like back home, like interviews for magazines with people and stuff. And yeah, so just trying to sort of do stuff that people that would go to the shop, you know, like interesting people either from Melbourne or that sort of inspire the store, and put up a little podcast every week. But I've got to get it's sort of went in a bit of a quick hiatus after we got it up because of celebration and stuff, because I put out a lot of episodes in the last week. But we're gonna get back to that. But yeah, so like if you're into like skateboarding and stuff, like on the second episode we had Danny Way, who's like the guy that did the 360 over the Great Wall of China. He's like one of the founders of DC Shoes and a very legendary skateboarder. So but yeah, I love like interviews, and I love interviewing people. It's very there's something, an art about it that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, you're amazing at it. Me, I'm just kind of like here talking with people. But that's even, you know, I was never a skateboarder. I was fat and wasn't coordinated to skateboard. So I tried a bunch of times. I just could never do it. But I mean, just listening to you interview people and getting, you know, different perspectives from people. I mean, I'd rather listen to you, you know, interview someone than watch half the TV shows, or, you know, it's just a different, you know, version of, still your podcast. It's just not a Star Wars podcast, and you're talking to interesting people. It's not like you're sitting there talking about, you know, watching the cement dry or the grass grow or whatever. It's, you know, people that have interesting stories and things to tell you.
Yeah, well, the weird thing is sometimes there was someone that listened to like 59. It was like in that amount of episodes of my podcast of Steel Wars, and then they decided to watch Star Wars. They'd never seen it, but they were like, "Oh, I'm going to check it out." And they listened to over 50 episodes of my podcast. That's very interesting.
That is kind of strange, you know, because I've told the story.
Sorry, what's your favorite podcast that has nothing to do with Star Wars?
Missed in History.
What did you say? What history?
Missed in History.
Missed.
Missed. Like I missed. You missed the shot. Missed in History.
Oh, I thought you meant like missed, like the fog, and it was like great fogs in history.
No,
that's a wild concept. So things that went like wrong in history. Is that what is it? Like epic fails of history? Is that sort of what it is?
No, it's or stuff you missed in history class. I'm sorry.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I misspoke. And yeah, it's stuff that you don't learn, or kind of a deep dive or whatever. I mean, because, you know, without getting all into it, you know, history is told by, you know, the winners, or whoever or whatever they want you to know, or whatever, you know, whatever it ends up being. And this is just kind of, you know, filling in the gaps, or, you know, whatever it really happens to be.
Okay.
But it is Holly Fry, who is on Full of Sith podcast.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
Her, yeah.
Ah, okay. It's all clicking
so that's how I know about that podcast. Is I learned from that podcast from listening. But the funny thing is, so like my story, I just decided I wanted to make Star Wars friends, and half the people I was watching on YouTube were horrible, and I was like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and I'm going to make Star Wars friends that way. And, you know, the less than one people out there, if they can do it, I can do it. And, you know, not realizing that me sitting here talking about the truth and, you know, not doing a 3-minute video of everything I just made up isn't going to hit an algorithm or anything. But I made 2 videos, and somebody hits me up on Twitter. They're like, "Hey, we're getting together. You want to come hang out with us?" And I thought it was gonna, I was kind of scared. I was like, I just the beginning of February, I started. It was right before Solo came out, so I had no social media except for Facebook, and then one day I had everything. And somebody hits me up, and I go, and I'm like, "Oh God, what these are going to be some weirdos or some sickos or whatever." And no, it was Johnny Grasso that hit me up. So that's how. So I walk in, and it's I'm thinking I'm going to be like too cool for these guys and whatever. I walk in, I'm the biggest nerd there. It's Araj and Johnny Grasso and Pappas, the guys from Tau Swift, and and Emily was there, and other people for meetup. So it's like, 2 weeks and 2 videos into wanted to make Star Wars fun. So I kind of hit the motor load, and that's where it all came from there. And that's where it goes back to you kind of in the middle, and then Emily. I started listening. I had never listened to a podcast before. I listened to my first episode of Rogue One on the subway to go meet them. And I was like, oh, these guys sound like they're okay. So it was just kind of a leap of faith. And it's like, Star Wars friends, let's go. And it just kind of never turned back from there.
So you'd never listened to a podcast before at all?
No, nothing.
Wow.
I'm not any kind of podcast for anything. And I was just, and because like the one person I watched all the time was Prince Bell, Urban Acolyte. Urban Acolyte.
Yeah, I've seen a few of that guy's clips.
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, he deals with mostly the power, like the religion and the philosophy behind it. So that's where like I watched him all the time, and then some of the other ones I watched, and it was like kind of hit or miss. But that's who really got me into it, and that's why I decided, because he was like a couple of his episodes is like, if you want to talk about Star Wars, talk about Star Wars. I don't think he meant like make podcasts or make YouTube videos, but that's how I took it, and that's what I did. And I burnt myself out because I was actually doing what you and Hawes were doing with year by Star Wars year by year, but I was doing it day by day. So I was putting up a video every day for it. And going through with everything that came out, and it was for not ever doing anything before, it was pretty successful. I mean, I was getting 700, 1,000 views on them, but it was taking me multiple hours a day, 4 or 5 hours a day to do it, and I was going to school and working, and I just burnt myself out. And then finally, after 2 months, I was like, I'm done. I'm never doing YouTube again. And then I went to Celebration, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to talk to people and hang out. And that's why, this kind of like, even though like this is number 32 of the Bacta tank, I've been doing it for almost a year. I just wasn't numbering them and didn't have a name for it. It was just kind of like live chat. So it's, I've been doing it for a while, and I've kind of changed it up a little before. It's just kind of a free for all, invite anybody that wanted to come on. And sometimes there would be nobody, and sometimes there would be 10 people. So it was just kind of crazy to now I've kind of, fine-tuned it a little bit, and I've started editing it into a podcast, and now I'm actually trying to edit it into a podcast instead of just cutting it off. So trying to make it seem, a little bit better.
Okay, yeah, because you can especially with editing the video, you can get swamped down for a week, and then you put up a video and it's like, well, a couple hundred people watch it, or what? Do you know what I mean? Like if 100,000 people are going to watch it, then probably worth your effort. But that's sort of not the that doesn't happen overnight. But you can, just spend so much time on it. So that's why I've just been trying to work out ways to do stuff on YouTube that's sort of very light on back end production and stuff. So I've started. I learned how to Zoom live to YouTube last week, and that because I've done other streaming stuff on YouTube with different apps and stuff, and it's been very problematic. And the Zoom to YouTube, once you get the how to put the little codes in from YouTube into the Zoom meeting and stuff to get it to like stream. It's been like amazing. It's like how technology. It's like an app, like an Apple advert, like how it happens in the advert. It's worked so perfectly. So I've been having a lot of fun trying to work out how that works and how to like do the screen share. And so I'm trying to do it like every day, not on the weekends because I've got fan, but yeah, just do little things each day and keep things going. Hey, Noah's in the chat. What's going on with that?
He is. What's going on, Noah? Yeah, that's where it's like there's a bunch of other podcasts out there or YouTubers or and a bunch of them have gotten together and formed their own little networks. And I was just the TooMedToo's Star Wars channel, and for no reason I decided to change it to the network. And I was like, well, I'm doing more than one show on it. I'm a network. People are like, well, who else is on the network with you? I said, me. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I got the Bacta tank, I got the Septa tank, I got the Holocron house, I got collecting. I was like, I got 6 different shows. I can call myself a network, and just depends on.
That sounds more official than other networks. It's all that stuff. It's just like it's just for fun. Like unless you're signing some contract to get some.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, so it's yeah. I know. I always felt like people took it more serious than it needed to be and stuff. Like just that it's like it's sort of, I don't know, the less you can like make things into clicks and stuff, the better, pretty much. And sometimes like it's good to have the network thing because you can like plug each other, but you don't want to sort of limit yourself just to those people on your show and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. But it's a network of one with lots of friends, so it works really well.
I feel a bit like that sometimes.
Yeah, and then
I'm a network of one.
But I mean, maybe I don't know. I don't know if it's because I've been doing it and got to know more people or meet more people, but now it's easier being the TooMedToo's Star Wars Network to talk to publicists and get advanced copies of books and work on some other things. And I mean, I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. It happened around the same time. It could have also just been I got lucky with one and did an interview, and then somebody else found out, and then I'm getting free online copies of books. And then I found out the person that's approving my online copies is the same person that I'm dealing with as a publicist at the publicist. I didn't know that it goes through them and then everything. So it's crazy how, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's really not. It's not crazy, but it is.
The thing is with those books that they send out, then you've got the pressure to read them, and I don't need that in my life. I don't need the pressure to read the book. I'd still be. That's why I do a podcast where someone reads the book to me, essentially, because I was like, I'm never going to keep up with this. So I just have Tom come on and tell me what happened in the book, and then I'm like, and I don't like. I'm just, and more often than not, I'm just like, oh, that was nice to know, but I don't really need to read the book. Like I'm sort of glad I didn't spend the time reading the book. I like the moving image. It's a lot more.
That's why the audiobooks are great, because it's like a little.
Yeah, it can be. It's good. Like I enjoy it depends. I feel like if you get the formula right, and if you're into it, and you'll do anything just to press play for that 10 minutes, just to get 10 minutes more. But sometimes I just like vague out, and I'm just like, who's this character? What? I remember reading the EU, right? Like when I stopped in the 90s, and I was reading, I'm like, I have no idea who this person is. No one in this room. I don't know who any of these, none of them are in the films. I don't know what they look like. And so I bought like an encyclopedia so I could look up the pictures, and that didn't really help that much. But yeah, I'm not, I don't know. That's like when you hear about the High Republican stuff, it's like it's exciting, but I'm sort of just like, yeah, but I'm not really like I sort of know I'm not really gonna. I might read the first book maybe, but it has to be very good for me to go. All right, I'm into this, but I'm definitely I like to watch Star Wars. Nothing against the books.
I would.
And I think because of my like where my like life is, like I've got a 2-year-old boy and stuff, and it's sort of like reading a book is I don't know. I'd rather just watch. Like yeah, like do you know what I mean? It's you're too tired to read.
For me, it goes watching, listening, and then reading. Like I would rather if all the 40 novelizations or 40 canon books that they've done since it's been sold. If those were all made into movies or TV shows, I would have rather watched those than listen to them. And since I could listen to them, I didn't have to read them. But like you were saying, I now have an obligation to read them and review them. And I'm a little bit behind just because of life or I didn't get the Thrawn book, but the last 2 books that came out, I got them 5 days before the release date. Well, if you don't have a couple days to sit there and read them, the Thrawn book came out 2 months ago. So if you were going to read the Thrawn book, you had 2 months to read it. I didn't get a copy. The other books, like the
yeah, because Tom, he can read it in like a day, like a morning. It's just like he just like. I don't know if he's skipping words or what, but he reads a novel in like a day.
Yeah, he for a little while I started a competition with him. He wasn't really. I decided that we were in a competition. He was just kind of like, "Did you finish the book yet?" He'd be like, "No." I'd be like, "I did." He'd be like, "Okay." And then like the next book that came out, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm behind. I'm never gonna finish it today." He's like, "Oh, I finished it an hour ago."
Yeah, don't go toe to toe. No, you pick your battles.
And I'm listening too, so which makes it even worse. So he's reading
okay.
fast. He's reading faster than I would listen.
Yeah, but you can read faster than you can listen, can't you? Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because talking takes time.
I don't know.
Like just the act of talking. Like you can read a sentence faster than you can say it.
I don't know. I always thought that it. I don't know. We'll have to. I'm gonna try it with the Thrawn book because
okay. So this will be my example. How long's normally an audiobook? Just on average, 10 hours.
Yeah, 10 hours.
Yeah, well, Tom reads them quicker than 10 hours. So you can.
But I think he speed reads. Like I don't think he doesn't skip pages or anything. But I mean, if it's taking me 10 hours to listen to it, I think most other people, if they read it, it would take them 20 hours to.
No, it's. But you read faster than you talk. I'm trying to think of a way we can test this.
I'm going to buy the Thrawn book tomorrow. And chapter 1, I am going to read chapter 1.
All right.
I'm going to time myself reading chapter 1. And then I'm going to listen to chapter 1 and see what. Unless chapter 1's like, I'll look and see whatever.
See, this is the sort of experiment I can get behind.
Yeah.
I applaud your.
If it says like 8. If it says like the time for that chapter is like 8 minutes, I'll wait until something a little bit more substantial where, it gives you a longer period of time.
Okay.
Or whatever. Or I might try it with a few different ones. I might read a chapter and then listen to a chapter, then read a chapter, listen to a chapter. I can't say that I'll be able to keep it up for the entire day or whatever.
And make sure you message Tom when you finish each chapter, just to let him know.
I'll tell him Steele told me to.
Yeah. I'd like that.
So, yeah, we'll have to ask him if he reads faster than he listens. We should.
He'd have to.
Because a lot
So just
a lot of times, what I do is the book comes out at usually between Pacific time, because that's where it comes out between like 12 and 2 a.m. Pacific time. So for me, that's between 3 and 5. If I'm up or whatever, and I'll get up at like 6 in the morning, and I'll listen to 2 or 3 hours, and then I'll take a nap, and then I'll get back up and start my day off, or whatever it is.
What do you do while you listen to it?
Whatever.
No, like, are you just like staring into the abyss, or are you like folding, washing? Like, what are you doing? What's your activity?
Both. Like, if I get up and it's early in the morning and the book had come out, I'll listen to the book for an hour or two while I lay there in bed, because I'm not turning on the TV or watching TV. And then when I get up, I'm walking the dog, I'm taking a shower, I'm listening to the book. Now that I kind of, I haven't had it yet where I'm getting a free book, because there's different publishers. So I'm not getting anything from Del Rey yet, but I'm getting stuff from DK, Disney Lucasfilm Press. I'm getting the books from the advanced copies from them. So I haven't got Del Rey. So I haven't had an opportunity to get like the Thrawn book 2 months ago, and then I could read 10 pages a day, have the book done, and everything's good. So, once I start getting those free copies, or I shouldn't call them free copies, even though they are, because that turns me into a Disney shill, I guess, which they want to pay me money, I'll take it. Anything free Disney wants to give me, Lucasfilm wants to give me, I'm more than happy to accept. And I will be proud to walk around and tell people I'm a shill. So I guess we're going to have to see once I start getting those advanced copy books.
All right. You definitely can read faster than you can listen, without question. Without question.
Are you sure?
Yes. Because, like, you're skipping, like, part of the talking bit. That takes time. Are you Googling what's faster?
Yes. Average words read per minute. The average adult reads between 200 and 300 words per minute. For college, that's 350 to 450 words a minute.
Okay, so what's the average? Are we going with like 300?
The average adult is 200 to 300 words a minute.
Okay.
For people in college, it's 350 to
400.
Don't
worry about those people. Now just talk about how many words people can say.
Average words spoken a minute are 125 to 150 words a minute.
Bang. Come on. Come at me. I think someone owes me an apology.
King Tom owes you an apology. Steele was correct. You can read more than you can speak.
Say?
But so does that?
But
yeah, but see, oh no, but I would not be able to sit down and read for 10 hours or whatever. Where I can listen to a book for 10 hours.
I go insane. The fact that you just sit there and listen is, I know that's what people do, but it seems eerie or something. It's disturbing.
But okay, so
I got to do stuff. I have to do stuff. Like,
so
I just can't sit there and listen. I'd have to be like,
we're gonna get done here when we get done, and I'm gonna do whatever. If the book has come out, then I'm going to listen to the book while I'm doing whatever I'm doing.
Good.
I'm not just going to sit here and be like, put on the book and just sit here and listen. But now if I go to bed and I'm laying there in bed, I'm one of those people that always have the TV on when I'm falling asleep. I won't turn the TV on. I'll listen to the book.
Yeah, but don't you there's something about the book. I never liked doing that because then I've got to find out where I was. Do you set a timer? That's wise.
They have timers. You can do it either in like an increment of time, or you can do it stop it by chapter.
Okay, cool. I tell you what, I have to be so tired to go to sleep without listening to podcasts, and I need to I can't go to sleep to a Star Wars podcast. I go to sleep to wrestling podcasts. They are so good to sleep to, and I'm not dissing them. Like, I find them very interesting, but there's something about it that just switches my brain off, and because sometimes like you listen to a Star Wars one, you hear like you're sort of processing it a bit different or something, because there are things that you talk about and you're like, that's not right, or I don't agree with that, or like what's the one that Corey and Noah was saying? That maybe Ben Kenobi and Anakin and Darth Vader should meet, like in the Kenobi series. And if I had to listen to that when I was in my bed, I wouldn't have slept all night. But I listened to professional wrestling news. It relaxes me for some reason. I haven't watched professional wrestling that much, but I listen to the podcast.
If I was listening to a Star Wars podcast and I didn't agree with what they were saying, or we had different viewpoints on something, I'd probably start getting worked up, and I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. Like, yeah, Obi-Wan. I don't know if Noah's still here or not, but Obi-Wan and Darth Vader should not meet again. If they do, they do. There's nothing I can do about it because, am I going to be happy with it? No, but you kind of have to accept it because it's not my story. It's somebody else's story to tell me. And that doesn't mean that I like it, but, I just don't think they should. Like, they were left. Like, Obi-Wan leaves and Anakin's dead. And then we find out in a comic book later on, because he hears somebody talking, he finds out that Darth Vader's still alive. So he knew, at the time of A New Hope, we didn't know what was going on. And then with Revenge of the Sith, he thought he left him for dead. And there's that little bit in between there that, well, he wasn't really dead. But we find out later on in a comic book that he knew before he went to the Death Star that who Darth Vader was, that it was Anakin.
Yeah.
So, but for them to meet again and, just saying, the last time we met, well, yeah, because the last time they met, I'm just saying, I don't know. Vader says, I was once the learner, and, like, why if so Anakin's left for dead and Obi-Wan leaves him and then they meet again. Why is Darth Vader learning something? Darth Vader's not learning anything. He's, thinks he's more powerful. So it just doesn't make any sense.
It always frustrates me with like the extra stuff they bring out, the comics and the books, mainly in the comics it happens, is they just can't leave. I just think you got to respect the original intent of each movie. So, when Darth Vader says, when we last met, I was mere the student, now, I'm the master or whatever. It's like they're talking about back in the Clone Wars. Like, you don't like then put one, do a story in the middle and then to be clever, like there's something that he has to learn in that battle or something. It's just like, it's so trite. Like that people, like there was some bit of canon that they tweeted out a few years ago and then deleted the tweet, funnily enough, about how, this is so enraging. when they're in Ben Kenobi's hut in Star Wars A New Hope, Episode 4, and C-3PO says he's going to shut down, they made some bit of backstory canon that he was shutting down because they were talking about Anakin Skywalker, and he was programmed never to mention. So he's just, that was his programming, was to shut down because they were talking about it. And it's like, he was low on battery and he was going to recharge. Like, you don't need to be clever and go, oh, it's because, like, it seems like it's sort of, you're trying to wedge this thing, you're trying to make it different. Like, you're trying to make your mark by changing the original intent of, like, the original document sort of thing.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. And that's where, like, the Clone Wars at the end with the Siege of Mandalore, it doesn't change things, it just enriches it, sort of thing. It doesn't, like, it just gives you a bigger juicy bite of the burrito. It doesn't change the sauce. These analogies can go off track sometimes. But
I understand what you're saying, but that's where I came up.
Hey, can I just ask you a question? Just popped in my head. Have you had anyone in your house, like, at all lately? I was thinking about it today because, like, there's been no other person in my house for 6 months. Like, I've got my wife and my child, but no one. I was thinking about like little things that you don't know that are weird, and I feel like someone else being in my house I would find quite shocking now.
My girlfriend, I live here with my girlfriend and my puppy. My girlfriend's friend from North Carolina, that's where she grew up. That's where we met. I'm not from there. I'm originally from Buffalo, but it's a whole long, me traveling around the country, living around. Her friend was in New York City for something. So my girlfriend took a road trip with her to North Carolina to see her family. That's the only person that's been in my house because she came up, she had to use the bathroom.
Ah, okay.
But I haven't had anybody over here hanging out or anything like that.
Yeah, it's weird. I went, I sort of didn't realize because I work from home. So, my life, like, isn't that different, sort of thing. But my wife's is, but, like, I'm at my desk anyway. Like, this is my desk. And I was thinking about, like, just little things that you don't really notice that are gone. And I was like, I haven't spoken in person to anyone that doesn't live on my street for, like the guy, at Trader Joe's or whatever. But that's not a conversation. I went and got a haircut about 2 weeks ago outside. And I've gone to the same, like, hairstylist or whatever the culturally appropriate thing is to call them. In Australia, they're called hairdressers. I've gone to her for like 3 years. So we sort of know each other. And normally we'd talk for like the first, 10, 15 minutes. And then it would sort of, it just lull down naturally. And then once in a while we'll say something and stuff. I just couldn't stop. It was like an hour. I was like, blah, 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 like, and I was like, halfway through, I said, I'm sorry, but I haven't spoken to anyone that doesn't live in my street for 5 months. So this is like, and she's going, oh no, I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, I couldn't stop talking. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a little bit different. Like the first, when they reopened the barber shops, I went and got a haircut. I don't have the long beautiful hair like you. I have a half bald head, so I needed a haircut because it had been beginning of February till end of June or whatever. And they're wearing masks and they have gowns on, and like the one place I went, they're all decked out. Like they have like the plastic face shields on. That they're all decked out, and then they're like keep your mask on and everything. And I just went to a different place a couple days ago, and
how many haircuts you getting?
I've had two.
Jesus.
I
two
listen,
haircuts. Oh my God, what a prima donna.
When I used to be in restaurant management, I used to go every 2 weeks. I was getting my haircut every 2 weeks. And then slowly it's gone away. Now it's usually once every.
What haircut you getting every 2 weeks?
That's the way it used to be, man. Now, now it's like, because I used to not have a beard. I used to have a goatee. And after like 6 years of being with my girlfriend, she's like, can you grow a beard? And I was like, why? She's like, because you're not going to shave your face and you look ugly with a goatee. And I was like, after 6 years. And I was like,
I like that she's surveyed, she's worked out the possibilities. So she's worked out her best case scenario for what she has going on. Because I would, when she said grow a beard, I was shocked because they're prickly. I'm that goatee must have looked horrible for her to generate a beard. That is a firm beard. Like and that is like there's no skin showing. Like in those, that's pretty. So do you have to like you doing you doing upkeep on this or what? It seems like a lot of work. Make it look nice.
No, well, that was the thing. I said, fine, I'm going to grow a beard, but I'm not going to take care of it or whatever. I'm just when I get my hair cut is when I'm going to get my beard cut. And she said, fine, because I still get my hair cut often enough that every couple of weeks or every whatever. So I would just trim a little bit, trim around the ears, trim around the mouth, and just do whatever you got to do. And that was about it. And now it's just like even before COVID, I would just be like, I'm not getting a haircut. I'm not going to trim my beard. So it would be this big long. I'll post a couple pictures of my beard because it got. I take whenever I'm wearing a T-shirt from like one of the content creators. I take a picture of it and I tag them in it. So I have a line of, and I have a couple shirts. I only have like 3 or 4 people that I have shirts from.
I've seen that on Twitter. The chain of it.
Yeah. But yeah, so like if you go back and look, there's some with like a really big beard. My mask, actually, I have one of the homemade. My mom and sister made me Star Wars homemade masks, and my masks got stretched out because my beard was so big. So.
I had it like super long, like because I hadn't had a haircut at all, and so it was like could come down to there, and it looked good when I skateboarded. It was all flicking around, but it was so annoying because it hadn't been cut at all. The ends were like spiky, and it was driving me insane. And then after she cut it, she's like, oh, you want to see how it looks? And I'm like, I don't care. Like it feels amazing, like because it's all like sort of shaved on the sides, but it was like the bit that was shaved had grown. It was like that long. It was too much. It was like Cousin It. But yeah, I can't wear. I was considering wearing a hat. It was getting so long, which I try not to because my head is so big that a hat just it compounds the issue. It's 8 inches. It's too far out.
I used to barely ever wear a hat. Like I'd wear a hat if I woke up and was going to go out to the house, run to the bodega or something. I'd throw a hat on instead of doing my hair. I just got to the point where because of COVID and not being able to go get a haircut, I had to wear a hat because my hair just looked like a mess. And then I got my hair cut and I got used to wearing a hat again that I hadn't worn in years. So now it's like it's kind of like a vicious cycle that we
once you get into hat once you get into a hat vibe, it's hard to pull out. I've gone through those things where it's like I'm wearing a hat. I haven't for like about 5 years, but I used to go through big hat stages. But what else? How long till the Mandalorian starts?
I don't. They're still saying October. They're saying October, and that hasn't changed. But you know, everybody's been talking about the whole trailer thing, so we don't even know a start date. But I think that they're going to give us the. This is my theory that I had yesterday. When I was yesterday, we're talking. Oh yeah, I'm doing some. There's somebody on Twitter named Bob who's doing a Baby Yoda con. And he's just getting different content creators to talk about Baby Yoda, and he's recording it, and he's going to put them all together and put it out in November or something like that. So I was on with 3 or 4 other people yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we talked about is I was like, what if they're, because of the way everything's happened, and you know, you had fandom, and so they wanted to put it off, and then you know, what if they were going to do it?
They're not putting anything off because of fandom
this week. Well, I mean, just they want all the attention though. Like they want everything to be. They don't want anything else going on when they release the Mandalorian trailer, as what we were talking about.
Yeah, I just don't think like when that whole rumor about that they were going to put it out before Celebration, I was like, that just doesn't make sense. Like, why put it out the week before when you could put it out in the weekend? But then they didn't put it out at all. But
so my idea is on September 4th we get Milan either in theaters or on Disney Plus, and it's going to be tied into that somehow. Because why not? You know, you never see a trailer for a TV show. Why not? It's COVID, things are crazy. Throw the movie theater for that. Throw it on Disney Plus or something like that.
I don't reckon. They're not putting trailers. They're not putting special trailers like in the cinema because like no one can go. Like I know some people can go, but it's not worth building anything around. They'd have to put it online as well. But
no, yeah, I think it would be online. But I think that's when it's going to come out. It's going to be a trailer online. It's going to be for Disney on Disney Plus. You're going to get a runner on Disney Plus. Like, you know, when you go like the same as Netflix, when it runs whatever TV show they want you to watch, or when you're flipping through and it kind of gets stuck on it, it shows like the trailer for something like that.
I don't know, because they don't seem. Disney Plus is very cold. Like, there's no like trailers or little they don't really advertise stuff to. They're just like, it's here, click it. Like, there's no sort of human interaction-y sort of thing. So I don't even think they might put it on Disney Plus, but that's not like that's not the place to put it, because it's to get more people to spend money. And I would imagine they won't have it on Disney Plus at all for maybe until the show comes out, because they want to concentrate all the views on that YouTube thing to make that tick up. Do you know what I mean? And for one, because on Disney Plus people have already paid and they're going to watch, because, you know, they'll see the banner when it's up. But obviously, you know, we all want to see the trailer as well. But you want to sort of focus that, you know, view count out of the, you know, on YouTube, which is the best platform for it, to try to generate more subscriptions. And that's why I get frustrated with people that are like, they don't have to advertise. We're all going to be watching. And it's like, that is the sort of arrogance that, you know, like led to Solo losing money. It's like, you know, I talk about it on my podcast. It's like Coke and McDonald's are like a #1 iconic brand. in their category, and they're the biggest advertisers because you can be number one, but like, do you want to be like, you got to keep advertising, keep pushing it to stay number one, and also like you can be number one and make $1 million profit, or you can be number one and make $100 million profit. So like look at what's it called? Endgame. It was guaranteed to be $1 billion, right? So and to like probably be the number one film of the year. But like you advertise it more than ever. So because then you like there's something about a critical mass about something's really popular, and then when you advertise it, it gets even more popular. Like you think you wouldn't have to advertise it, but it's almost like just the way humans work, and to get across to that mainstream, it's like the advertising is people aren't as free thinking as you'd think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting when they roll it out. I sort of think that you're onto the right thing with Milan, because I'm always trying to work out like what their strategy, like what makes sense. Like what if I said to someone, "Hey, why didn't you market this tool then?" And then they say, "Well, because we did it because of this, so to leave room for this." So I think it might start after the week Milan's on, after the Milan hype has died down. Then it's like, hey. But the other thing with Milan is it's not Disney Plus per se. Like it's not like they are actually advertising to Disney Plus people to give them more money. So it's a different hustle even. Interesting. But okay, so here's maybe a reason.
Okay.
They save The Mandalorian for after Milan because some people might be annoyed. Because people get annoyed about everything. I don't want to pay $30 to get, whatever. And then they hit him the week after. Hey, don't forget, we've got Yoju. He's coming back. He's on it. So that might be why they're holding off. But to just, like, all they did for Star Wars was, that Star Wars show thing about celebration stuff. It was like, I don't know, it was pretty tone deaf and so weak. Like I was talking to Corey, and it's so easy to brainstorm cheap, fun things to do. One idea that would have been great and had a good sort of community vibe is do an entire 3 days or whatever, and just show like live stream on StarWars.com or whatever on YouTube, and just have classic panels from all different years. Like have a schedule. Do you know what I mean? And then like,
yep.
Hey, Thursday morning, we've got like this one from Celebration 2. It's going to be the Attack of the Clones panel with Rick McCallum. Like, they've got them all filmed. And like that would have been like rad. Do you know what I mean? Like it just would have, like it's content it's already done, just repackage it. And it's sort of, but I don't know. How did you, like, I get uppity about that sort of thing. But like, what did you think about the whole sort of weekend sort of passing without much of a glitch of, there was a few product releases and stuff, but
I really hate to say it or use this phrase, but it was a missed opportunity. And, whether it was to show us new things, which, they might not have new things because of COVID. So they weren't able to film Cassian, and they weren't, Kenobi got put up back, and whatever stuff they would have given us, whatever reveals we would have gotten, we didn't get. The Mando trailer probably being one of those.
Not even reveals. Like have a.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So
Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary Zoom thing,
so they don't have. But that's what I'm saying, because they didn't have any big reveals. They were like, well, we just won't give them anything. And I would have sat there and watched Rick McCallum from, adding Rick McCallum. And
dude.
You know,
Give me a 2-day Rick McCallum fee. Oh, McCallum. Imagine that would be a good imagine that doing 2 days. That was your challenge. 48 hours of McCallum. And you just blog along, like you just try to live that Rick McCallum lifestyle to stay up and make it through. How long what's the longest you've ever been awake for?
couple days.
No way. A couple of days. No nap.
Yeah, no, that's
Was it? Were they?
not naturally. Not naturally.
I was going to say. I was trying to think of a good way to work. I was like, would you want someone to search your pockets during this time?
Not naturally, no.
Okay.
That was back in my younger days.
Hey, we've all been there, buddy. It's all right.
Yeah. I've been.
Hey,
I haven't had it.
I'm just gonna push the button now, and the cops are gonna come through the door. It's just a big sting.
That's why I want to know if anybody else was in my house. Thanks, Steele.
It all fits. It all does fit. It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's sort of like I don't know, it was like I did a stream today and I was talking about it's like I'm shocked they didn't do anything, and I'm also shocked that I can barely care just because it's like I can't. That's not going to make it into my top 100 complaints for the year. So
if it was last year, and for whatever reason, Chicago had to shut down and wasn't letting anybody in because of whatever, we'll just say, a terrorist threat, just whatever. And so Chicago's not letting anybody in. The convention's canceled. Nobody can come in. And then they didn't do anything.
But it would have to be a terrorist threat they found out about 3 months in advance.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, because they need time to we've got to give them. It's not like a terrorist threat that week. They've got to do a live stream.
That's fine.
It was 3. They had 3 months.
There was a terrorist threat they found out about 3 months in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't do anything, I'd be pissed. But the way things are now, it's like, why didn't you do anything? Because this is the perfect opportunity, because everybody else is doing something. And it's not just because everyone else is doing something, I want you to do something. It's that, it's canceled, and this is the perfect time to do something. What do you got to do? Mail a camera to someone, tell them to hook it up, and talk to you.
Yeah, there's cameras on everyone's computers. No one has to mail a camera. I just think they've just cut. Like when you look at the Star Wars show and how that's now just like once a month, and it feels like, and especially this year with the income woes that Disney would be having without the parks open. I just think obviously people in the company want to do it, but whoever's in charge of the budget is no spendo. Because the whole thing, I don't know how it works with insurance and stuff, but that's how many people go to Celebration? 80,000 people? That's a lot.
Yeah.
What?
And that was one of the things that was being speculated on. They were waiting until they were told they couldn't have it, or they weren't going to be allowed to, do it, because that way insurance pays for it and they don't have to pay vendors and everything, which I can kind of understand. But, it's also like our friend, August in Australia month, all of our friends in Australia, they can't come. They have to, they have to make the choice beforehand. Do I cancel even though it might still go on and then I lose my money, or they can't get out of the country anyways, even if they were to, if Celebration was going on right now, they wouldn't be able to go because they can't get out of the country. Or if they do get out of the country, they got to leave, they need an extra month of vacation time because they need 14 days before and 14 days after to do that. So they have to take 2 months off to go to Celebration.
Yeah, that's just...
So it's like, you got to roll the dice then on what you're going to do.
Because that's the thing, that's a lot of cash. Like, do you know what I mean? That just like that ticket money, because it's weird because people sometimes treat Star Wars and Lucasfilm like this, like a religion or some dedication. It's like, and people work hard with make celebration, but like just the ticket sales, it's like $10 million, something like that. It's like the event is crazy cash, and then everyone else they're just like dropping their money off to get their whatever. It's a big time draw, so that's a lot of cash to be out, and I think that's why they one of the reasons they would have waited, of course, is that insurance thing that everyone talks about, but also being able to pinpoint a date that you can say, or you can keep your ticket and come on this date. They sort of had to wait it out. I know a lot of people assumed it would be next year, but they obviously, you don't want to cancel it twice. So
why do you think they did push it off to 2022?
I just think to play it safe.
Sure.
And
Either that, or the convention center is already booked at that time, because things are booked a year or two in advance. I mean, when I had Pappas on, he didn't know that it wasn't 2021. He thought it was, or didn't know it was 2022. He thought it was 2021. And he had.
But does he know the current year is 2020 though?
I hope so. But we were looking at. He had me looking at hotel rooms, and everything's. I don't know what's going on. I looked at like 4 or 5 different time frames and everything, and different rooms at the Hilton, and it's all booked. Or I can't say there's nothing available. So I don't know if they're doing smaller hotels or if they're shut down. I mean, why would a Disneyland? Why would a hotel be open? I mean, our hotels. A lot of the hotels in New York City are shut down, and they were turned into homeless shelters for this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, there's some that are open, some that are closed, and some that have been turned into homeless shelters. So, I mean, cool. I just don't know, like what. I mean, why if the Hilton's even open or not?
Oh well, they obviously. I don't know. I who knows? But I think a lot of people just won't be taking bookings for just because of the refunds and stuff. But I think it's a better thing for them to do, and who knows? Also, now that no one's been able to film anything, and their film schedule's crazy anyway. But what would they have of? They mightn't have anything of note. Or they mightn't be sure they've got anything of note to plug. Do you know what I mean? Like, you hope that they will have filmed, Kenobi, maybe Cassian, but there's no guarantee because this whole situation is so.
I mean, that's what New York City is doing great. It's weird to say that we're getting 200 new cases a day, and that's great for us. But if you look at, that's, 0.9% of tests or whatever, it's just because there's so many people, that's a good rate for us because it was so out of hand before.
It sounded like I know when I talked to Emily, I'd just be terrified for her because it just sounded so COVID-y. It sounded like there's a lot of COVID down there. So I'm glad you guys are doing better.
The big question is going to be, schools are supposed to be starting up soon. Here they're going back to school here, so we'll see what happens with that. So we'll have an idea in the beginning of October how that's going, how things are going, and that will probably whatever's going on in the beginning of October, mid of October. That's how they'll decide everything else. for New York City once the schools are back, because that's where you're packing everybody in. 30 or 40 kids in a class, or even if they're half the kids are staying home and getting homeschooled. That's 20 kids in a room every day. That have.
It's hard. That whole thing is hard because people have to go to they have to go to work. They look after their kids. Like, what are you going to do? I tell you, they didn't bring out this virus to be like, they could have made it more convenient. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
They just did. It's a real prick. The weird thing for me is like, just the thought that I can't go home. Like, I can't do you know what I mean? I can.
Yeah.
I always was like, and I go back and forth a few times a year and stuff for work and stuff, and it's like, yeah, I'm not. I probably won't go back for like, it might be a year and a half between my visits, which is very, very strange for just a humble small town boy, You
won't be you can't go back till at least the new year, right? Aren't they shut down till? So I mean,
I'm like it's at the moment it's like 2 weeks in quarantine. And like, how do you, like, if you're moving back there or something, you could do that, but it's yeah, I don't know. We'll see. They just better put that Mandalorian up towards the end of the year because baby needs some things to look forward to. You know what I'm saying? I cannot wait. Just that Friday morning, just bum 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 bum. That show makes me so happy, and it'll be just. I just like the thought that every Friday there'll be this little joy bomb for us all to talk about and complain about and love and dissect and chat and joke and just something to do.
Yeah. It'll be great. Another month or so, and we'll see. But Steele, I know you need to wrap it up soon. Question for you.
Yeah, mate.
Cobra Kai, the TV show. Have you watched it yet?
Dude, I don't want to gatekeep, but I was rocking Cobra Kai a couple of years back on my paid. I had to pay for YouTube for the month. Yeah. So I could watch it. Yeah. It's like it's rad because now I just see, I just see in my Facebook feed now everyone's talking about Cobra Kai and stuff when I brave Facebook. It's rad that it's found this new audience and now the third season's coming because the more people that watch it, the more likely there'll be a fourth season. And I love it. Like, I loved the Karate Kid when I was little. And this sort of thing that honors it, but sort of flips it on its head and is kind of like a tiny bit tongue-in-cheek, but not, I don't know. It's just such a perfect, like comic book TV show or something. I don't know. It's, but it's rad.
Did you ever see the I think it was Funny or Die, where Daniel's the bad guy? He goes into town and he's trying to steal the guy's girlfriend. And it's like, I mean, that's not what happened, but yeah, it does kind of, the case could be made for that. And then especially with like this show, it's like Daniel's a dick, and I'm just, some of the stuff he's doing. It's like, yeah, he might have a good reason why he's doing it, but he's holding on to a grudge, and people are trying to change, and and
it's interesting because like it sort of shows like a pretty interesting thing about life in that, like, you should let those things go from when you're young, because like people were different people then, and they were young and naive and they didn't know what they were. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's sort of things like, I don't know, it's interesting just to like, they're holding on to this stuff from 20 years ago or whatever, and how it affects them. And they both seem to have changed. But then you've got someone else like what's his name? That prick of a guy, the head sensei of the Cobra Kai.
Sensei Lawrence.
Yeah, like he hasn't changed.
Oh, no, that's Johnny Lawrence. I can't think of his name right now. But yeah, I'm trying to picture his name on the plaque.
Yeah, but it's just interesting to see like how they depict like someone on the outside, how they look and what's happening in their real life, and to give sort of people the benefit of the doubt a little bit, like sort of, I don't know, I just see that sort of stuff on Twitter and that with like, heated battles and stuff, and it's sort of, I'm at a point where it's like they're, I don't know, just let it go. Like, like don't like have a grudge against someone for 2 years because they tweeted something about like a character that you like, that, and again, like if it's racist or sexist and stuff, it's a total different kettle of fish. But it's sort of interesting how their characters have grown up, and I'm in a like similar position where I look back at high school and it was so long ago and stuff, and it's sort of like, people that had issues with me or them or whatever. It's sort of like, you let it go. But then there's always like one person where it's like, nah, still a dick, not accepting their friend request on Facebook. I've got one hanging. It's been hanging on my Facebook for about 18 months, and I'm very proud of it because I don't have warm memories of how they treated me in high school at all.
You see, you're still holding on. You gotta.
No. And then I see his photos, and I'm like, still a dick.
But I mean, that's kind of like perfect what you're saying, and you see Johnny and the original Karate Kid when he's sitting there, and Sensei says, "Sweep the leg," and he's like, "Do you have a problem with that?" Because he's like, "Wait a second, I shouldn't do that." So he's really not a bad guy, and we see in this, he really wasn't a bad guy, but he needed some guidance. He goes to the guidance from this asshole. So like that's the way he's trained for all these years, and like literally and figuratively trained to be, and so it's like, and then because of all the shit that happened, he ends up with a raw deal and doesn't get anything. It's just kind of, it's kind of like Luke. No matter what he does, everything's always turning bad for him. And he just decides to go, hey, Luke's trying. It's just, he ends up having to live by himself and be angry. And that's kind of what Johnny does. If then all of a sudden it's like, let me train you. At least he's trying to train somebody.
I don't think Luke was angry. I think he was more cynical than angry.
Yeah, just kind of giving up. Because not necessarily angry, but just giving up just because, it just seems that everything he's trying to do, he's succeeding and going further, but not in the ways that you really need to.
But as for Cobra Kai, can't recommend it enough. But I did have a tinge of true fan when I was like, hey, where were you guys when YouTube Premium was going? But it's still going. But
and then people, the first 2 seasons came out.
Yeah,
it's like, well, yeah, it came out years ago, dude. Where have you been?
The one good thing about getting that YouTube Premium thing I'd only get it for until we watch the whole series and then turn it off. But then you got like that month was ad free, like on YouTube.
Yeah,
which was very good, especially for listening to music. It was exciting. And the app, when you play for premium, the app will still playing noise when you go back to Twitter. So on an iPhone now, right? If you're if you're on YouTube and then you want to go check your Twitter, the sound will stop, like it won't keep playing. But if you've got premium, it will keep playing while you check Twitter. So that's all. But those days are over now because I'm never going to subscribe again. But it does show the power of the platform. Do you know what I mean? Because everyone uses YouTube, but obviously no one's watching it to pay the subscription thing and watch their show. Like that whole thing, I think is going to fade out where they were trying to make TV shows. And then you put it on Netflix, and it's like the #1 show in the world.
Yeah, I didn't see what it where it was on the top 10, but
I know it's #1 on Netflix. So
okay.
I know on the Sith list they often do the streaming charts, but I don't think they do TV shows. But maybe I don't know.
Why don't you ask them? Ask them why they don't.
All right.
If it was earlier, we could call Raj and be like, "Hey, Raj, why don't you do this on your show?"
I talked to Raj today. I'll text him. I'll send him. I'll see if they record on Wednesdays, so maybe I can get this new segment in there to help us out. But
yeah, hey, because that's actually where Condor comes from, because Raj can't pronounce Condon. Fuck yeah. Del Shahi, I have no problem saying Del Shahi, but he can't say Condon, so he calls me Condor, and that's kind of where it came from.
Hey,
and then I put it out there as a joke because I had Boo and Rusty on, and Raj came on for a little while, and it was Condor. It was said I had Condor on there for it, and it just kind of stuck. My last name is actually Condor, and I just roll with it. Fine, that's cool.
He could have given you a far worse variation. So
that's how it started, because yeah.
Condor's good. Stick with Condor.
Yeah. I grew up my entire life with not being Condor. So
yes. Well, I feel you as a Steel. I feel your pain with the people that want to riff on your name and expect you to have never heard that joke before. Yeah, been there, done that. Well, so many times. So many, like if I actually express to people like my, yeah, I've never heard that before. That is very amusing. Like I do it in such a, like it's such a shutdown. It's so cruel that I can't do it anymore. I used to just jokingly go, I never, it is like, and it came off a bit mean. But I like sarcasm is the best. I don't care what your mum says. Sarcasm's very good. It's the highest form of it.
Just make sure you put LOL after your tweets, or people think you're an asshole.
Oh, dude,
I never put LOL after anything, and people but
I'm not into LOL. Actually, I'm into the winky dude. The little I don't know what it is. A semicolon with a bracket. But I like the wink.
Gotcha. Maybe I should start doing that. Save me some fights.
And then and you save a keystroke on LOL. LOL's 3 buttons. Winks 2.
That could really save some time.
Well, that's what we're all about here, I think.
Yeah. I mean, how many? If you can save one keystroke every time you type, how much time will that save in your life? Yes.
I'm all about that.
All right, Steele.
Yeah, but thanks so much for having us. I really appreciate it. And who did your art? That's pretty impressive.
Chris Hall.
Nice. He's good. He's got the skills. Yeah, that's a good 2-1B. Very rich colors.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I was quite happy with it.
I'm quite happy with this. Is my bootleg Luke Skywalker from Hong Kong. I don't know. I think the light's too bright, but he's actually terrible. I've been pulling out all these old bootlegs that I had.
Yeah, it's not. It's bright there, but it's not bright on you. I know I've been doing a lot of usually I have stuff to open, so at the end of the show I'll be like, what's in the box, and then I open up whatever. And I was like, you know what? Over the next week or so, I'll make videos then on whatever it is. and I've had to start using a photography light for it because the glare on the plastic, and if you don't take the stuff out, you can't see it. So I have to use a photography light for that. So,
with like a soft filter over it or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, nice.
But because I don't have a studio and I'm kicked out of my room where I could just leave it set up, it's break it down and put it back up every time. And, first world problems, 5 minutes to set up a light. Yeah. It's just a pain in the ass.
All that setting up stuff, that wears you down. Yeah. Like I've set up my area, like, so the lights, like I sort of put them behind the desk and I can just flick it. Because when I used to do like the one in a couple of years back in our old apartment. It was sort of like a talk show. And we'd have cords everywhere. And it was like the actual show was so fun. The before and after was like to set up a studio was like, ugh. So I'm always now just trying to work out ways to leave things set up in a certain way so I can just come back. And yeah, the setup's brutal. Every Star Wars content creator should be given by the government an extra room to set up all their stuff and live happily ever after. Have their partners happy with them. Have their streams running flowingly, because it's all the plugs, too many, all those plugs.
Well, I actually have a second bedroom. They can go so wrong. I have a second bedroom, and it's fine for like watching TV or computer or whatever, but it's not strong enough to stream the signal, so I can't do it back there. So that's why.
You can't like run an Ethernet cable or.
The way that they would have to redo the wiring for the cable in the apartment in order to do that.
Really?
Yeah, because we looked at it a couple of years ago, and the way that it is, so because it's a long New York City apartment, so it's 10 feet wide, but however a big bedroom, living room, 2 more rooms and then whatever. So it would be like trying to put your internet from, I don't know how big your house is, but from one room to 40 feet, like from one room to like 40 feet, down, trying to get it. So it's enough for, it's strong enough for, other things, but just not for streaming. So otherwise, my girlfriend would never see me if that was the case. I'd just be back there for.
Maybe she likes it. Maybe she would set it up for you then in that case. But our house, the length of our house is, if I get particularly excited, I will get a text from the bedroom at the other end of the house saying, too excited. So our house isn't that big.
She when COVID started,
hey, I just
she had a dream about being pregnant, and I said $8,000, and she said, "What's that?" I said, "Because I ain't gonna be able to buy shit afterwards. So $8,000, brand new computer, all set up, everything to go, gaming, multiple screens." I was like, "Then we can have that conversation."
Is she pregnant?
No.
Oh.
Okay. No. I'm not dropping a bomb here or anything. I'm just saying, like, she had a dream, and I was like, "Fine, 8,000. A nice gaming computer, nice new cameras, all 4K stuff. Get an instead of just having a Logitech camera, get an actual, $1,000, $2,000 camera, like everything good." I was like, "That's all right. You want to let me have? You want to, give me my man cave now, and then because it's all downhill and done after that." But
dude, you're not going to have any time to use any of it.
I will up until the baby. Well. No, because then I got to spend time with her and stuff. That just won't work out very well.
You're burying yourself here. You have the pleasure of hanging out with her. Yeah, thanks so much for having us. I've got to finish up a bit of household chores before I head to bed. So these are the things that you'll have to do when the dream becomes reality.
Yeah. Well, I do have some house chores I have to do, but since there's no little baby around, if they don't get done, I just get yelled at tomorrow, and it won't really interfere with anything. But,
yeah, well, enjoy that life. Enjoy that life. But thanks so much. It was good to see you again.
All right, Still. Thank you.
And I'll see you on the internet.
Always. I'll be one of those crazy people with my book and you and one of the sickos.
Yeah, I'll get at me about the reading test as well. I'm interested about that.
Oh, I will. I'll do that.
All right.
All right, Still. Thanks.
All right, good night. Take care.
It's a pleasure.
Bye.
All right. So most of you know that was Steel from the Steel Wars podcast, amongst many other things. Yeah. So, wow, this is going for a long stream tonight. Yeah, so you can find Steel Wars. He's got his Patreon. Go hit them up. I am a patron of his, and it is well worth the money. And if you don't feel like doing that, at least he's a great follow on Twitter and Facebook. With that, I say good day. May the force be with you. All right, that's 2 of them down in a row. Kylo, are you still here, brother? Anybody still here? I think it might be time to call it quits for the night. It's 4 hours. 4 long hours. There's people here. It says there's people here. I don't know what people are here. Christina, are you here? Is anybody here? We just got some looky-loos. And nobody's. Well, I had opened up some stuff earlier in the week, and it I got a bunch of editing I have to do, man. I got a ton of editing I have to do. Because, yeah, I got to put this into 2 videos and then edit the sound to a podcast. I have the video that I did, the live chat with the Vader and the Mandalorian baby. I got to put that into 2 of them. Because I didn't have a computer for 2 months, I am 8 podcasts behind. I'm turning those. So basically, if I do edit one thing a day, it'll still take me about 2 weeks to get it caught up. So we'll see how that goes. But thanks everybody for stopping by. Thanks everybody that came by and everything else that gets stuff done. I'm just done, man. It's been a long, faster, and more intense 4 hours. And this is the way we finish off August, is Australia month. With that, I say good day. May the force be with you.